Hello, good morning and welcome aboard to AM News. My name is Denise Apomaeje. We begin from politics. The Member of Parliament from Ifija Kwabre North, Collins Adomako-Mensah, has assured former Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia of overwhelming support from delegates and party faithfuls in the constituency ahead of the NPP's presidential primary scheduled for January 31. The MP said the backing reflects Dr. Bawumia's track record while in government and his appeal among grassroots supporters who see him as the strongest candidate to lead the party into the next general election. Take a listen.
He's the only candidate among the five. Our best rider has 7 times. He's the only candidate. And here, so say ye mobi free titia. If you just Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, only ni free titia. Yenye year oni yebisu. Ye waria ye ne na ye. Enti ye na wa bahaye. Doctor obefie. Ye mo akwaba. Na doctor ene emre ni ho. Me delegate wa ha nyina ombedi mi adanse. Ma ba mo na so since 2003. Aka Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia ho nsem a kire mo saa. Enti enya afi na me ba be ka kire mo say Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia sebe oye economist. Enya na me ba be ka ne ho nsem a kire mo. Enne de yasem a ye ka kire wona very simple. Doc wakoma to yem. Yasem no ye very simple. Kan wakoma eto yem. For the past 2 weeks, uso TDBA party mpanimfo uhomo TV so obia sorry a papa yi ni e bonechi dog me Ifija Kwabre ha me se kan wakoma eto yem de amanfo ka efa wo ho de aye di watam e wo radio so de aye di watam e wo TV so Ifija Kwabre ha me se kan wakoma eto yem emohu ensheki ema ore enho on the 31st of January Ifija Kwabre North yebema wasre what.
Still on the NPP presidential primary, flag bearer hopeful Dr. Yao Seidu has appealed to the party's leadership to remain calm following the decision to initiate formal processes to expel former Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng. The move follows comments made by Professor Frimpong Boateng during a television interview in which he described the party as fake and questioned its internal democratic credentials, stating that the 2023 presidential primary was rigged in favor of former Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Speaking on News File, Dr. Edichum also urged the former minister to stay calm, expressing optimism that better days lie ahead for the party, particularly if he emerges as its flag bearer.
I'll tell you one thing. I'll appeal to the party leadership to really calm down. In our culture, even age, just mere age, right? That you are older, you should be respected. But you have somebody who has accomplished so much in his life. It's a two-way street. The party gave him a platform, but he also enhanced the party by bringing his expertise to the table. At the time when we were in opposition, a surgeon of his caliber being part of the party was a plus for the party. So even if some words are said that we don't like, we have to find a way to deal with it in such a way that we do not create a situation where he's further vilified through comments by many other people. I will appeal to my brother, older brother, who I really respect. I used to serve as a member of his ministerial advisory board as a deputy minister at the time. And I worked with him closely as a member of his ministerial advisory board. His passion for innovation, for mental issues, and many other things is worthy of commendation. So I appeal to him to also calm down and cool down. Better days are coming. When Dr. Edichum is a flag bearer, we are going to bring parties together.
And with less than 2 weeks to the New Patriotic Party's presidential primary, aspiring camps are stepping up efforts to secure victory. The camp of Kennedy Japan has blamed Ghana's current challenges on failures by successive administrations. Speaking at the launch of Politics, Honesty, Discipline, the Japan discipline among political leaders has weakened governance and slowed national development.
The motivation in writing this book is to make sure that our posterities, those who are coming, those who will come and meet maybe our dead bodies, will see that there is a day that somebody reset the mind of Ghanaians. We want to develop. I am from America, or I live in America. I don't want to be there. There is a saying in Akanda, so your question, look at the environment and see whether they are obliged by that. If there's some way patriotic, some patriotic, and patriotic, don't mind now. I can bring I say a quota. I can so fra. Anyway, send yen so into menum. Ghana to Hanum so yetonsio. Mini wochebi. Now, bra sebren ye far bucket co in sum, yakosenso be going in num, enya holding. And now bet me, I say, yes, so you say, we don't love our country anymore.
Away from politics, Chairperson of the annual Northern Ghana Regular Baptist Churches, Reverend Dr. Timothy Seidu, has called on Ghanaians to embrace tree planting to help restore the country's depleted forest cover. Speaking at the Awa Central Conference, he blamed illegal mining and indiscriminate logging for the destruction of forests and water bodies. Join News' Upper West Region correspondent Rafik Salam reports from Wa.
The annual Northern Ghana Regular Baptist Churches ANGRBC Fellowship, which comprises of 9 churches. ANGRBC Fellowship, which comprises of 9 churches that constitutes the Wa Central Zone, was held in Wa. The 3-day conference was held on the theme Stewardship of the Believer, categorized into 3: stewardship to governance, environment, and their lives. Chairperson of the Wa Central Zone, Pastor Noah Alasan, threw further light on the theme of the conference.
What are the dangers and what are the cautions we have to take? Are we going to be compromising with everything? But it's good. If we are not even going, what can we do to help governance? Because government put it in order. They bring about peace. If there's no peace, we can't come together. Then come to the environment. The environment. How do we take care of our environment? The land is not our own. God has given it to us, and we have to take care of it and make sure that we leave it for other generations to come and take over. So how do you even treat yourself, or maybe take care of your environment, the outside environment? These days we've been hearing of galamsey and other things. So we are, by this, telling our people that they shouldn't involve in some of these things.
Chairperson of the ANGRBC and head pastor of the Faith Fundamental Baptist Church, Reverend Dr. Timothy Seidu, expressed concern over the rate of illegal mining in the country, which he will want Ghanaians to refrain from.
So our water body should not be polluted, whether it's seawater, whether it's our rivers and our streams. And then especially in this regard, these days, we have the problem of galamsey. And then galamsey has come to be more a harm to our economy than the good we desire to get out of it, because we end up polluting our waters, and just apart from the muddy nature of the waters, we have mercury and other heavy lead cast into the water, and we will end up drinking these chemicals that will be hurtful to us, or they will get onto the soil and then get into our plants, and we will consume those plants, and we will have difficulty with our health.
Reverend Dr. Timothy Seydou urged Ghanaians to cultivate the habit of tree planting as a way of replenishing the depleted forest.
We need to find a way to revamp the forest. If you cut a tree, try to plant the tree. You may say, oh, it's in the forest far away. How can I plant a tree right in the forest? Well, you can plant a tree in front of your house. You replace it at a different place, but that is taking care of the earth. If we all cut trees and we don't plant, then we'll run out of trees and we'll have problems with our oxygen supply.
Head pastor of the World Regular Baptist, Reverend Aquila Dramani, also hammered on the issue of wanton destruction of the environment, but his focus was tilted towards the youth.
Guide against and caution our youth and our people that we should stay away from that. Christians need to protect the environment. Christians are the custodians of what God has given us. God tells us that we are the people to subdue and have dominion over the earth. It means that we should make good use of the earth and the things that God has given us. So I call upon our people to know that since we are the children of God, we need to keep what God has given us.
Some of the members of the church shared their thoughts on the conference.
We are so grateful that we have met as a family, as people of God, together to give thanks to God.
What I learned today at our women's side was that it is about the talents God has given to us. How we are to use these talents to enhance ourselves and also to be an encouragement unto others.
Reporting for the news, Rafik Salam. Wah.
Now, away from the Upper West region, for decades, the rainy season meant isolation for communities such as Arano in the Techima North District as floodwaters submerged roads and cut residents off from essential services. Repeated appeals for intervention went unanswered, deepening years of frustration. However, a promise made just 3 months ago has delivered a remarkable turnaround. In just 90 days, a newly constructed bridge now spans the once impassable stretch, replacing floodwaters with steady movement and renewed hope. There's more in the following report.
This is the new sound of progress here in Aurano. But for over 30 years, the sound here was one of frustration. Since 1992, communities like Aurano, Jama and Misedine felt forgotten, their roads and bridges crumbling, their connection to other parts of the district severed every time it rained.
How can you say namu se usu to ankasa and so ne roads no ekwa amanfo fie ntina ntimi mabimokura wa bontim ntimi san mrafie obi nso fie a eden se obepie ntina e how pa na e haye e okrodua yi
e how de bebro ntutuo ene even most especially so mo nso ka ye easy ho so ntimi sure se na obia kokompa na ye den.
Their cries reached their Member of Parliament, who also doubles as the Trade Minister, Elizabeth Ofosu-Ajari. She promised action, and in a break from the past, action came swiftly. What has happened since has given the entire area a massive facelift.
Sanya omatumi aye brains na nina efa babia ekogu gates ne oda yimu no aboaye e de anije bebre abakuru yimu.
Just 3 months ago, contractor MJB and his team arrived. In 90 days, they have delivered what decades could not, a massive infrastructural facelift. The critical Aurano Bridge now stands firm with extensive drainage networks snaking through the communities, promising an end to the annual floods.
Dairy Hotel, Nina Quano, Waya, Ubusa, Oya, the Akayina, the South Susan, the Edia Maumo.
The structure is more than concrete and steel. It is a symbol of reconnection, and today, the very MP who championed it is here on a surprise visit. Not not just to monitor, but to share in the community's palpable joy.
You saw Arano before this construction. If it rains, people of Arano could not cross from Arano to Kenteng and vice versa. I didn't think this was fair. Every year I'll try to put some temporary measures in place because, my government was not in power and there was not much that I could do. So I assured them that once Excellency John Dramani Mahama comes, their roads will be fixed. You see, the bridge is done within 2 months.
Her vision extends beyond just solving the flood problem. She sees this as a catalyst for a new future. Upon completion, the plan is to plant trees along these streets to beautify the community and to actively combat climate change.
There's going to be an innovation. This is Techman North. We will always set the pace. So we've decided that with all the road construction that's going to go on, we're going to plant trees along the road to make it beautiful. Also, the ozone layer depletion, we know the climate change issues. Techman North wants to take a very bold step.
The MP's vision extends beyond mobility. She sees a road that will revive economic activity and put money in the pockets of the people.
See, they change the economy of this area. We can cut our produce to the farm and all of that. So I think that this, in effect, will help.
The official timeline from the Bono East Feeder Roads Department is 18 to 24 months. But the regional manager admits the starting pace is a game changer.
What is to be delivered within 18 to 24 months. That's the completion period. But so far, what the contractor has even done is beyond 50% in less than 3 months. So we say we are ahead of schedule.
In Techman North, the narrative of neglect is being rewritten at an unprecedented pace. The promise was a road, but the foundation being laid here is for a renewed hope, commerce, and a community finally in control of its own destiny. For Joy News, I am Anas Sabit in the Techman North constituency.
Let's do some business stories now. Fuel prices are set to drop by as much as 3% at the pumps from today. The projection is contained in the latest Outlook report, which guides pricing of oil marketing companies in the country.
We do not respond to pressure. We do not respond to speculation. And we do not respond to sentiment. We respond to evidence. We respond to risks, and we respond to the medium-term outlook for price and financial stability. Second, we prioritize stability over speed. In rebuilding credibility and restoring order, quick fixes in many cases are rarely durable. Our focus has been on policies that can be sustained even when they are uncomfortable in the short term. Third, we operate an institution not as individuals. Central banking is collective. It is disciplined work, and decisions are taken through established frameworks, informed by analysis, debates, and yes, we do have lots of debates in-house, as well as professional judgment.
The CEO of Dalex Finance, Joe Jackson, has welcomed the establishment of a 12-member presidential advisory group on the economy, describing it as laudable. However, he cautioned against overestimating the role of the advisory board, emphasizing the need for tangible actions to drive economic growth. Mr. Jackson spoke to Joy Business.
But it's important we understand the relevance of the price floor and why it was introduced in the first place. So if you recall, 2 years ago, the discussion about unfair price and cutting and unfair market practices came up. And this was because we had done an assessment of the price regulation policy since it was implemented in 2015. And one of the major concerns that came up from both the oil marketing companies and the board distribution companies at the time was price and cut. We must understand that in as much as the market is regulated, the regulator NPP is there to protect both the consumer and the petroleum service provider, which is the oil marketing company in this case. if we don't have fair competition on the market and the market collapses, we are going to struggle as an economy. And therefore, the regulator's job is to ensure that there's what we call full cost recovery of investments. So there's a policy, that there's a pricing formula that is used by all marketing companies. And in this formula, there are certain components that all marketing companies control. And there are certain components they have no control over. So if you look at our formula, you realize that there's the FOB price at world market price, which we have a way to determine that. There are other costs that are fixed and applied to all players. The new regulation actually allows all marketing companies to determine their own margins, and that is where the competition is.
And that's it for business updates, and that's how we wrap up AM News. Don't forget that if you want more news, please log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Denise Yapomaji. Up next is sports.
Hello there, thank you for staying with us. Time now to review the news, but I shall quickly run you through the newspapers. Headlines just quickly. We'll start with the Ghanaian Publisher. A lot of you have been asking why the Attorney General discontinued this particular case. Now he's been speaking, and the details of it is on page 3. He says that no theft, no personal gain. The AG has been speaking particularly on the former finance minister and founder of the Unibank, Dr. Kwabena Dufo. Story is on page 3. And then on to, as the NPP is threatened to January 31, place your confidence in me. Baumia has been speaking. Story is on page 2. And then the minority has been calling for the dismissal of NACA bosses. I'm sure you've been following that story about how they believed that the definition for gender was sneaked into the manual, how to define what gender is. Despite they apologizing and saying that they're investigating, the minority is as well calling for the dismissal of the NACA boards. Story as well is on page 8 of the Ghanaian Publisher. In Ghana to host 2026 Africa Real Estate Festival, page 4 of the Ghanaian Publisher. I'll take you to another newspaper this morning. The Custodian this morning, choose a winnable candidate. Kennedy Japan to the NPP. It's getting fierce. The contest is quite getting fierce. And Baumia as well faces 4 NPP aspirants, NDC, on January 31. Story is on page 3 of the Custodian. Because of the way this headline is couched, you should take a look at the details of that story. And Ghana to host 2026 Africa Real Estate Festival as well is showing up here. Ano Dompre plants a tree to green in Samum Adrejiri as well. And Tampili presents girls' dormitory dining hall at Gushegu SHS. Page 4 of the Custodian this morning. And still a part of the Custodian is advertising for Dr. Baumia. Brilliant, affable, welcoming. My poor vision, if Kujo was here, he would help me. Modest innovation and action-driven as well. That's it for the Custodian. Let me take you to another newspaper. The Daily Guide this morning, again, seems to have similar headlines. Choose a winnable candidate, Kennedy Japan to the delegates. And as well, there is a by-election that is looming. Ayawasu East by-election, March 3. See page 4 of the Daily Guide this morning. Anna Foriata worried of a return. Story is on page 3. Surely you must have heard that he really would love to come to Ghana, but he's quite concerned about how he'd be treated in Ghana. A lot of questions have been raised, particularly on this. The ambassador to the U.S. is the one who's been speaking, and particularly mentioning names of who have been quite concerned about how Ken feels he will be treated when he returns to Ghana, the former finance minister. Story is on page 3 of the Daily Guide. And as well, ex-Maslock bosses faces U.S. court January 21. That's just the day after the former finance minister as well will be facing the immigration court. Story is on page 6 of the Daily Guide this morning. And Supreme Court set guidelines for post-divorce properties sharing. I know that this story is of some concern and interest to a lot of people. You should grab a copy of the Daily Guide this morning. I'll run you through maybe the last paper. Right. I'll take you to myjoyonline.com. What's the new review without myjoyonline.com? And our top story, gold for reserve losses should be in the national budget. This is by the IMF. We'll take time to as well look at that recommendation by the IMF. But basically, that is our big story or top story on myjoyonline.com. Stay with us as we review the news for now.
As this is the AM show, time now to review the news. A lot of matters arising. Earlier, I told you that we shall be reviewing a lot of things. And joining me in studio is Dr. Kofi Amoabeng. He is the lecturer and CEO of Census. Victoria will join us a bit later, but Lomduku Akhlija is lawyer, GIMPA lecturer, and also energy expert and as well an author. But we shall start the conversation, and then Victoria will join us later. Good morning, Doc, and good morning, Lom. How are you doing?
Good morning.
Doc, I've seen you already. We've had a conversation this year, but Lom, you haven't been on the show yet, especially for the AM show 2026. I think you reviewed late.
The last time I was here was 31st.
Actually, yes, that's quite a borderline. Has your 2026 started well?
Very, very well. So far, so good. And I'm happy to see my very good friend Kabila today.
Oh, your friends?
We have had way back.
Okay.
We haven't seen each other for a very long time. Very long time.
Okay, then it's some good reunion then.
Exactly.
Okay.
Thanks to you.
Yeah. Let's start off with what Professor Kwekwaza has been saying. I'm sure you have seen Chairman Wontumi on political platforms, particularly the NPP campaigning for Dr. Bawumia, and he says that while he acknowledges our laws, of course, he's not convicted. He's just being investigated. He actually thinks that this would deepen impunity. This will allow people to think that, well, if your matter is in court and you haven't been convicted, you can still do whatever you want. Let me know, Dr. Pomfe, let me know how you feel about it.
I think in the first place, it's useful to note that our friend Kwekwaza, who is popularly called Kwekwaza, acknowledges in the post, according to the story that was shared with me and posted on my Joe Online, that the issue he's raising is not necessarily the legal position. It is not an issue of legality, and that it is one of a moral persuasion of a kind. And I think it's a delicate matter, and he has a very critical point that I acknowledge. And I think that the situation he is commenting on and the issues that he is raising would have been more stronger if the case was that the person in question was now assuming a political position to join a political platform after he was charges were brought against him. But in this situation, here is a political actor, okay, and not just a political actor, the chairman of a political party in a region, someone with a certain political flow over a certain period, who is now on his other life or in his other side of doing what he would in this country as a businessman, facing charges. So it becomes a bit delicate. Does he, I mean, if you want to push the argument of Kwekwaza, what he's actually saying is that perhaps my friend and senior from Prempeh College, Wontumi, should have by now resigned as regional chairman of the NPP. If you push the argument that Kwekwaza is making. Well, it is within his right to do so, and I think the point he's making more is looking at the candidate who the person is supporting. And I would share with that position that if I am a candidate, I'll be careful who shares my platform and campaigns for me in my presence. If the person is campaigning for me in my absence, it's a different matter. Because after all, even convicted persons in this country in prisons exercise the right to vote or not to vote. It is their right, and no one takes that away from them. But it is one thing voting for one person and yet another campaigning on your own strength and your own credibility and your own integrity for another person or vouching for that person, especially when he raises issues about what concerns the people of this country, environmental sanity. public trust, accountability, and somebody is facing trial on these charges that relate to these things, it makes his argument get a moral persuasion, as I've alluded to earlier. But, the other side of it is that, as he admits, a person is presumed innocent under our laws until proven guilty. So the challenge now is that, what if these charges would all fail? Which is a possibility, but we are not there yet. And if you take the other side to say that, okay, well, what if they succeed? And so you are left with those probability of conclusions that we are not yet certain about. But by and large, what I would say is that because of the waned public trust in our political conversations, it is very important that if you are seeking the high office of President of the Republic of our country, you are minded the people you associate with and the people who share your platform. That's what I would say.
Okay, Lom, I'll bring you in, but I just want to show people the video, what triggered the professor's comments. And when I come back to you, maybe you can start from where he says that first. It normalizes impunity. The public is taught slowly and repeatedly that charges do not matter. Accountability can wait. Political usefulness is more important than public trust. This is what he thinks this video that I'm just about to show our viewers will amount to. Take a look.
Eti say yatumi ne yapadia anyasa madam funi wei anyasa mini wei ne wokuo anyasa wei na yatenten anyasa wei na mepe na asem na emom de yade ne ko a obetimi agitumi na maye no mepo acha constituency executive say ayahwan Council of Elders mepo acha wan yade ne ko election 2028 obawene coordinators me pacha one year fanning ko election 2028. Police station. I am 1 year fanning ko election 2028. I am 1 year fanning ko. Mesdames Kassani Bawi and Moutier. Mutie enipa numu no a omo petumi ni nyina no omo nyina ya NPP fo omo nyina na ko omo ye na so ba ko pe ene onyakopo ayi ni sai awoso ye flag bearer ye free ha kopa ebi bi ba besi a kire mesramo Asante region as Asante regional chairman adia ba ko pe na mesramo Mumma yen speaking one voice. Let's use our votes to speak one voice. Let's direct ourselves and vote for Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia. He's our future. He's the future of Ghana. So we are going to vote massively for Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia. May God bless you all. I love you. I love you all. I love you all. I love you all. We love you.
But at least he says he loves all of you. He said that. That makes me feel better. But Lom, so you've seen the video.
Yes.
Well, how do you feel about Prof's comments and particularly what he thinks can do to people?
I think it's something that I think carries some weight. The reason is simple. First of all, we've already acknowledged that it is not a legal limitation. So we are not saying that because somebody is being tried, automatically we are presuming the guilt of the person, for which reason the person is barred from doing many things. But we know for a fact that politics is about the optics. And the optics matter because it has an impact on how people in the country generally will perceive things. So when he talks about impunity, I can see the reason why he will put it that way, because essentially it creates the impression that until the conviction comes, nothing has happened. Let's take it this way. I think my brother Kabila made a point earlier. Should he, for example, have resigned from his position as a regional chairman because of these charges? Well, perhaps in Ghana that has not been the culture, but in many other places, that is what happens. When you resign, it does not mean that you're accepting your guilt. It just means that you don't want to put a certain cloud of negativity around your office or position. So when he talks about impunity, it comes in the same light, in the sense that it is about the impression. I can't recall any time in recent history where, for example, somebody has been accused of a crime and a party has done its own assessment, for example, to review the information that has been put out to say, we are ready to support you, but please take a step aside. Nobody has done that. None of the parties, to the best of my knowledge. When it happens this way, what it means is that the impression being created is that no matter what, the party will support you. And we've seen this many times. For example, in the last year, many times when people are being accused of one offense or the other, we see party faithful troop to the location. They basically, expressing their views that they think is wrongfully being charged, the person is wrongfully being charged and so on. But the truth is that all of these things are based on the fact that the parties do not take a step back to actually say, let's review the facts that have been put out so far. Which means that in Ghana, every political case has been reduced to NDC, NPP. It has been reduced to, because I'm not from this party, that's why I'm being tried. It has been reduced to, there's no basis for the charges. I'm only being tried because it's not my party in power. And guess what? All these kinds of views have been expressed over the years, and because of them, you see that people don't have belief or trust in the public system or the judiciary and so on, because there's a certain fear that nobody will try somebody from their own party. They are likely to only be tried when their party is out of power. So it has become a political game. And that's why...
Is there a certain amount of truth in that? That nobody would like to try a person from their political party?
We should try members of political parties because it should be about the rule of law. Yeah. And I guess that's why other conversations have come about in terms of how we select the special prosecutor, how we decouple the Attorney General's office from other offices and so on. But bottom line, in many other jurisdictions, these things still happen. Why does it happen? Even in other countries where members of the same party in office have been found to have breached one rule or the other, there have been trials and convictions. So what is different in Ghana? And that is what I think is at the heart of what Professor Azar is saying. He's saying it's about values. If you have the right values, when somebody has been accused of an offense or crime, you should, for sanctity, let the person step aside. There are thousands and millions of people in the NPP. If Chairman Wontumi doesn't mount that podium, nothing happens. There are many other people in the party.
That's a stronghold for the NPP, the Ashanti region.
Exactly. So it is true. That's what I'm saying, that it's about the optics. You are sending a certain signal that you are supporting him no matter what. When you start this way, what will likely happen, and here I'm just thinking ahead, is that even when he's convicted, the party is still likely to still support him and claim that he's been wrongfully even convicted. And we've heard this many, many times in the past, where even when the conviction as it comes through eventually, there's still a certain sense of, okay, we are not accepting the verdict. In our view, the person didn't do it, but the courts are being manipulated and so on. Which means that we are sending a signal out there that there's no confidence in public institutions and so on. And I'm saying, yes, he may be the chairman of the party in that region, but if he doesn't mount that podium, he spoke for just a few minutes. There are many people who could make the same arguments. He could take the time to clear his name, and he can have all the platforms and podiums that are available to him. So I think that Professor Azar's call is in the right direction. It's not about legality. It's about the optics, and it's about values. And that's why, as I said, in other places, they even go to the extent of even resignation. It's about values. They are not saying they are guilty. They are simply making the point that I don't want to tarnish the office that I'm holding. You are regional chairman. That's the highest position in a particular region for the party. Every day you go to court, whilst you are being tried, your name is mentioned, the party's name is mentioned, and there's a certain cloud hovering over you and the party that because of something that you allegedly did, the party's name is being brought into disrepute. When you step aside, then that conversation focuses on you and everything you are doing to clear your name. So for me, in that regard, Professor Azar's call is good, and not only in the case of Chairman Wontumi, but across the political divide, even when it has to do with a member of the sitting government currently, I think that we should look at ways in which we can isolate and protect the image that goes with a particular office.
Victoria Bright is a lawyer and an entrepreneur. She's joined us. Vicky, did you have a good weekend?
I did.
Okay. So, a lot of things that Professor Zai's call is in the right direction. Doc doesn't seem to want to stay far away from that assertion as well. But do you think Prof is picking and choosing? Doc, you don't seem to be far away from it. Neither are you hammering on it that it is the right call.
I took a balanced view of it because I felt that, and I think that's essentially what Lom is saying. But I think my point was made. So
quite clear, yes. Do you think that Prof is picking and choosing? I can't, on top of my mind, think about who was being investigated in a particular political party and then still joined a campaign trail and went out to, campaign for their party. I can't, on top of my mind, think. But do you think why did he have to start this conversation from here?
Because I guess he feels that it's a dangerous trajectory. Whether it's the first or someone has done it before, whatever, is really immaterial. The issue with individuals facing criminal charges is not really about guilt or innocence at this stage, because we don't know either way. But I think it's really about the message that is sent when accused persons are literally center stage or looming large in these political campaigns. And I think what Prof is doing is trying to draw a clear line between legality and legitimacy. Because yes, it is true that an accused person is presumed innocent in law. But then when you see politicians actively campaigning with individuals who are facing serious criminal charges, I don't think it sends the right signal to the public. And I think ultimately it can weaken public confidence in our judicial system, our justice system. Because what is lawful is not always legitimate to do. It's about values, it's about ethics. And I think leadership must know the difference, between what is lawful and what is legitimate. So I think his warning is very simple, that our democracy here in Ghana must demand a higher ethical standard than the bare minimum that is required by law. So I think that's the message he's trying to. So to me, legality is the flaw. That's the starting point. And I think what he's saying is that leadership should aim higher than that. Because what is lawful in court can still end up being corrosive to public trust in our politics. So I think, yes, all in all, I think it's the right thing to say.
But given that these things are perceptions, we're discussing what it can amount to in our minds. If he also takes a step back, for example, the campaign trail that's happening in the Ashanti region, and we don't see Chairman Wontumi, what would that perception also do to the party and to him?
That perception should be, like in other jurisdictions. I know in some of the, I don't really like using developed and developing and all those derogatory things, but the more advanced, let me put it that way, countries, things like that, you are set aside until, you are told to step aside, rather, until the matter is cleared. It's not a presumption of innocence, it's not a presumption of guilt. And I think the legal position is very clear to everyone. So all that it should signal is that, well, there's an investigation going on, and until the investigation is completed, it is better if we just allow him to focus on the investigation rather than be following a particular political leader or any one of them around. So I don't think it's a bad thing to do. And, as Norm was saying, it also, it sends the wrong signal. that, yes, this is a political witch hunt, etc., etc. And even if the person ends up being guilty, if they are innocent, fine. If they end up being guilty, you still have that question mark as to whether they're guilty because it was a political witch hunt, quote unquote, or they are actually guilty of the crimes of which they have been accused.
Okay. Doug, you're noting a few things. You have a few rebuttals.
Not rebuttals, but I want us to see this matter as a bit more complicated than our friend Kofi is making it look. There is one to me who is not just joining politics after he has been charged for certain offenses. He is already a political actor. He's already there. So it is in the business side of his being that he's facing this. And that's why I raised the question that if you look at the post critically, which I don't fault him for raising because it's a question about the conversation around our public trust. Should or ought Wontumi have resigned as chairman of the New Patriotic Party in Ashanti region? That question, I flagged it because at the heart of it is, can you take a backstage? Can you, as Long was saying, spare the party from going through the personal crisis that you are having? Now, I don't want you to say tarnish, but you are facing a question. It is a personal question, a business question. Can you free the party of it by relieving yourself of any attachment so that you can face it and then not bring the party into, sharing in that? That is the question, And then on the other side, what I'm saying is that since this man is there already, he's already on the political platform and has this other side of his being the business side, and he is presumed to be innocent until proven guilty. Now, you say that, go off it. Yes, the optics that we're all talking about here. The moment you take that stage or that position, the presumption also comes that, he's admitting some wrong. And it is not, as Vicky was saying, it's not limited to the global south. You see, we have an ex-convict sitting as the president of the United States of America, convicted of 34 felony, charges in the United States of America. I mean, somebody should have advised him not to even put himself up. Or in Ghana, by Ghanaian law, he could not even have qualified to contest. And that's why I say that we are not, our system is not worse off compared to theirs. We would not even allow him. But he is sitting in the White House as president of the United States. So it's a human thing. And it is a bit delicate than making it look like if the person doesn't mount the platform, it sorts out what our friend Kofi is saying. The ultimate responsibility, I have said, rests with the candidate. If I were the candidate in this question, maybe I would not allow the person to take the center stage maybe he's taking. And we are different. Perhaps he brings a certain advantage to the ticket that the candidate deems right. And he's exploiting it. Now, overall, for me, the issue of public trust in our judiciary has to do with how the judiciary conduct itself and the narrative we put on it. When we stop talking that a particular trial went on because a certain president influenced in a certain way.
Who are the we?
We, as Ghanaians.
Okay.
and I'm putting myself inclusive, commentaries that we make. And then we turn around when the tables turn, we are saying things differently. Those are the kinds of narratives that wane or destroy public confidence. But bottom line, as a people, how sincere are we with the things that we say and the things that we are expected to do? No matter how bad or weak our constitution may or might be, how faithful are we to it? That, for me, is a fundamental question.
So, do you see the thing that Doc is advancing, what he says? I mean, what is different from, why are we so special from a country like the U.S.?
Well, first of all, I think Doc alluded to that point. We have to start off with what the law of the country is. So perhaps in the U.S., it's possible for Donald Trump to be president today. In Ghana, if you are convicted of certain types of offenses, you will not even be qualified to unless a certain time period has elapsed, which is 10 years. So let's start from that point. First of all, it's a jurisdictional issue. Secondly, we've already made this point that it is not about legality. So let's put that aside. We are talking about whether as a maturing democracy, there are things that we should be doing. So when you situate it that way, you realize that, as again we say, it's about the impression it creates. And I'll give you, so for example, in 2006, Dr. Richard Anani, who at the time was the Member of Parliament for Nshaisu, he was found in a certain situation where it was alleged that he had used resources to pay for someone's travel and so on, which triggered an investigation by Shraj, and he was under intense scrutiny. The kind of, as we've talked about, let's say, focus on a particular person where, because of something you've done, it is bringing your reputation, your office, and the party into disrepute. At the time, Dr. Anani, he resigned. He went through the court process. Eventually, the Supreme Court ruled in his favor, and he was reinstated. He was Minister of Roads and Transport at the time. So what we are saying here is that it's not about whether indeed there will be a conviction or not. We are talking about what is right to do in these circumstances in a democracy that is maturing. So if in 2006, Dr. Anani could resign and eventually came back to his same position about a year later, what is wrong if we call for Chairman Wontumi to do similar? Even if we are not even talking about resignation, but the fact that the candidate allowing him to take center stage in the campaign.
That's the issue.
Exactly. So we've been on this fourth Republican Constitution from 1993. We're in 2026. You are running for the highest office, ultimately, because this candidate in particular is hoping that when he does win, he will represent his party,
the next
national.
Elections.
So it is important that you send the right signals. And the signals are that when somebody has been accused of certain criminal activity, we are not saying the person is guilty, but we will not also put the person center stage in our campaign. Two, it also gives the impression to the public that you are supporting that person regardless. And as I said, we've had a long history where every time somebody is arrested or being accused or invited to Yoko, party faithful mass there. In fact, the leaders also go there. So in this particular instance with Chairman Wontumi, I recall that Dr. Baumia also went to Yoko. Yeah, support him because he's not done what they accuse him of. Do you know the facts? Have you seen the evidence? And that's why I said that in other places, one of the things that the party will do is that they will do their own internal investigation. And if they see that it's more probable that some wrongdoing may have gone on, they will encourage you to resign. And if you don't, they might ask you to step aside. But that is the party perspective. Yeah. But for the person in question, they also on their own can do or take actions that will actually save themselves, the party, all this conversation we are having here today. So the call for that not to be happening now is in the right direction because, as I say, it's an evolving and maturing democracy. And where we are today, it is not a right signal to send for the candidate to put someone who has been accused of such offenses center stage in their campaign, regardless of whether he's in the stronghold, regardless of whether he's a party chairman in that region or not. we don't expect these optics. Otherwise, you send a signal to the grassroots that whatever they accuse him of, or whatever has been alleged is not true, we support him regardless, and so on and so forth. And as I'm saying, ultimately, it will lead to more questions being asked when, in fact, perhaps he's convicted. If he is indeed convicted, it is still very difficult for the candidate to now come and say, I'm not supporting him. And that's where they now start raising questions about this conviction is because of who sat on the case and so on. And that brings the reputation of the judiciary into disrepute. Let's allow state institutions to do their work as they are trained to do, they have the capacity to do. And when you have a situation such as this one, let us not, send the wrong signals and let the person take a backstage.
Yeah. Vicky, I'm actually very happy for us to talk about the removal of the GBA from the Constitution, but because of this conversation, I just wanted to bring in how Ken feels about his return to Ghana. I mean, I followed the conversation by the ambassador to the US, who says that, well, barring everything, people around Ken suggest that he really wants to return to the country to answer questions, but he's quite concerned about how he'll be treated when he returns to Ghana. Why would a former finance minister be concerned about how he'll be treated?
I don't know why he should be concerned, because his co-accused, aren't they all on bail? The STL guys, they're all SML rather guys, they're all on bail, aren't they? So, and also some of his fellow, he's not going to be the first person who is going to be on trial for an alleged wrongdoing. So I don't really understand what he means by that. We are a country that respects the rule of law, and I believe that when the Attorney General spoke, he said that he had personally given an assurance to his US lawyers that he will be treated fairly in this country. And so far, we haven't seen anything to suggest otherwise. So I am surprised that he feels that way. Perhaps if he had come at the beginning, or as soon as he was well enough to travel, then we would not be having this conversation. But there's been so much toing and froing and so much drama around this whole issue that it's now taken on a completely different dimension from where it perhaps could have been if things had just gone on as usual, because other people were also out of the jurisdiction.
Yes.
And they came back to clear their name. So if he believes that he's innocent, he should just come back home and clear his name. Because at the end of the day, people are not sitting on the press in this country. They will be in court with him. They will hear the arguments. They will hear what the judge is doing. They will be reporting as much as they can, because obviously it's limited reportage. But we have an active press in this country. And I don't think if an injustice is being done, they'll just fold their arms and be quiet about it, no matter who it's been done to, because today it could be that person, tomorrow it could be you. And I think Ghanaians feel very strongly about that and have a very strong sense of justice, what is wrong and what is right. So I don't understand why he should feel or why he should have those concerns. And if he does, I guess the ambassador, the Attorney General, everybody has reassured him, his relatives, whoever is concerned on his behalf, of the fact that the rule of law must be respected. I don't think Ghana will tarnish its image of being a respecter of the rule of law for one person. I don't think a whole country's image will be tarnished for the sake of one person. So I think he should come home. He should come and clear his name if he believes he's innocent. And that's that, so that the drama should end. It's too much drama.
Well, Doc, do you see any, maybe for want of a better word, legitimacy in how he views?
Who?
The former finance minister. What has happened?
Did he actually say that, or is the ambassador who is?
So the ambassador says that
impression.
The ambassador says that he's very informed, and he went ahead to mention his relative Gabi Ochedako. That's how Ken feels.
Well, let me summarize my position on these things. In the case of Wontumi, I will advise him that he should take a bit of a backstage. He did that for some time from the political scene. That is my personal advice to him as someone I know from Prempeh College. Ken, I will advise the former finance minister to come back.
That's all.
That will be my advice. But my advice will not end there. This flag of Ghana that we wear, that he is supposed to hold, also imposes on the state the duty and the responsibility to do everything the state can to bring him back if need be. But more important for me is to go ahead with the trial. That is where the meat is, whether Ken comes or does not. Once the state is convinced of some wrongdoing, let the state go ahead. And let's look, the drama and the theater is too much.
Too much drama.
Too much theater. And you see, we will have that conversation later. In this exercise of theater, we've created offices in the name of fighting corruption, which were corruptly created in breach of our own constitution.
Which one of them?
Yoko, which was SFO and OSP. You cannot amend Article 88 in Parliament without going through a referendum. But that's what we have done. But that's another matter to be discussed at another level, which I am ready to take up this year anyways. You see, the theater is too much. We've created a police force in both Yoko and OSP when we know that it should not be done. But as I've said, if we want to get things right, let's remain faithful to our calling. Stop the drama. Stop the theater. Yes.
Does it make you feel any better knowing that, of course, they have proceeded, the investigation is ongoing? His coming or not coming has not stopped the investigation.
I beg you. I made this position last week and I maintain that position that, look, educate me if I am wrong, my friends here. Which accused person would want to help you, the state prosecutor, to nail that person? That you say the person should come and cooperate with investigations. The lawyers would even advise the person to offer you information that will not implicate him. That's what they will come and do. So really, you are not expecting him to come and cooperate with your investigations to go and nail him or imprison him. That must be clear to the state prosecution. And when we are clear in our minds about that, we will find other avenues that will strengthen our case so that we go at him once we are convinced that he is guilty. And go and convince the court that yes, these are the facts, these are supporting evidence, and we want you to give us the verdict against him. And that will be done. I believe that if we do that, it will spare all of us this. Every morning, every week, we come and sit down and discuss the same issue. It doesn't help anybody.
But I thought we were saying that government was taking a two-pronged approach.
You said that, and I maintain that. Yes, you said that, and I said that. I said that I disagree with that position because, bottom line, that two-pronged approach will lead to the one, which is that you want to prosecute him.
But there's nothing wrong.
So if the person is not cooperating with you to avail himself, and your important point in wanting him to avail himself is to help you to prosecute him, and you can prosecute him without him availing himself, go ahead with it. What is too big in this to ask?
Okay. Shall I take Long's view on it? I'll come to you. I see that both of you are on the same view last week. Same view. Yes. Let me hear Long.
Exactly. So I think we should take first a step back. And I say that because when it comes to the question of Ken Ofori-Atta and his return, we have to squarely put it in a certain context. One of them is that the trial as at now, or the charges that have been filed as at now, are by the OSP and not the Attorney General. Let's put that clearly.
Yeah.
This was an OSP that was appointed during the time when, for example, Honorable Ken was a minister. So it is by the previous government. And so if it's a question about the person, the background, and allegations of whether they'll be treated fairly and so on, we have to put it in that context. Because I believe that the reason why we'll be talking about maltreatment or otherwise is because perhaps the prosecution is by another government. But this is not by the Attorney General. It is from the OSP, an institution that was set up under the previous administration. The person holding the office is was appointed during the previous administration. And the way he is conducting the trial or cases now, so far as I'm concerned, has been consistent with what he has been doing before this time. So even that question of will he be maltreated or not, I want to understand the dynamics, because I don't see any new actor in this equation, because the person and the office that is handling that case currently is not a new appointee by this government. So let's put that on in the front and center. Now, when it comes to the prosecution, yes, Doc has said the prosecution can happen with or without his presence. And as far as I'm concerned, that is happening, because just fairly recently we got the information on the news that indeed some individuals have been, invited to testify and all of that. So we know that the trial process is ongoing. But it is still important that every attempt is made to still bring him back. Because even though the Constitution and our laws of Ghana allow trial in absentia, the preferred type of trial is when the accused person is present. So the processes might be triggered. How does the Attorney General come in? Which is why I guess there seems to be that mix-up in who is prosecuting and whether it is the government and so on. That's because under the laws of Ghana, it is the Attorney General who is a responsible minister to make the extradition request. OSP cannot make an extradition request. IOCO cannot make an extradition request. The police service cannot make an extradition request. In fact, any request for extradition that does not come from the Attorney General to any other country, like in this case the US, will not be honored, because they will only respect a request that comes from the Attorney General. And that's what is constitutionally mandated and exists within our laws in the Extradition Act and so on. So the reason why the Attorney General has to come in is because the OSP has to request the Attorney General to do so, which the Attorney General has done. But currently, the arrest of the former finance minister was not triggered by the extradition. Let's also make that distinction clear. He was arrested as a result of an alleged violation of immigration issues. That's why his arrest was by ICE. You notice that in the case of Sedina, it is U.S. Marshals. That's a different organization that deals with fugitives from justice. So once those distinctions are made, I don't see the issue about maltreatment or otherwise. But to the extent that the request for extradition has been made, I know that those processes will continue regardless. And so as far as the trial is concerned, OSP should feel free to do what it needs to do, continue, but at the same time, government through the Attorney General will continue to pursue the extradition. And of course, he also can challenge it in the US and so on.
Many have said that we're in this country and there's been hefty bail conditions that you nearly cannot meet. They've used bail conditions, some form of punishment and all of that. Will he be right? We see the nuance and explanations that you've given us now, but will he be right to feel the way he feels?
First of all, I wouldn't say so. Again, it's good to separate things. Bail is determined by courts of law. A court of competent jurisdiction determines questions of bail. So I've heard the narrative that it appears as if it is government that sets the rates. Government doesn't set the rate, nor IOCO and so on, unless it is an inquiry bail, as in within the investigative institution, because police also can give you bail, IOCO can give you bail. So those ones, if we question whether they are hefty or not, there may be some grounds there. But when it comes to a court of competent jurisdiction, then we are talking about the judiciary, and the judiciary will hear both sides. When an accused person makes an application for bail, they will make the arguments to their counsel, and the state, represented by Attorney General, whoever is representing the state, will also make a counter-argument. The court makes a decision. When the court imposes bail, we have to, unless we have reason or evidence to the contrary, believe that the judge considered all the arguments, looked at all the factors, and indeed has given a decision which is based on the facts. Beyond that, every accused person reserves the right to repeat a bail application at any time before the same judge, and even can appeal that decision whether to grant bail or not, or the terms and conditions of the bail. So if it is too hefty, you have recourse within the law to do so. Now, beyond that, we've also seen and heard that the former finance minister in the U.S. has retained counsel. We are talking about a former Attorney General of the United States. Ashcroft is one of the high, we are talking about top flight lawyers and law firms. We are not talking small money here. So, for me, there's a certain, tension there. Whether
the theater,
if you can afford it in the U.S., it begs the question whether you'll be able to afford it in Ghana. But that's not even the point. Beyond that, we also know that the former finance minister is one who has, at least when he was holding the office, the image and impression we had of him was that this is a Christian, God-fearing person who always put that scent at the forefront. He never put it at the back end. Everybody who knew him, right from budget presentations, his speeches and so on, knows that he always positioned himself as such. What we expect in this kind of situation, and that's what I believe all my colleagues have said so today, he should avail himself. When he was arrested by ICE, he was in detention. His health was not an issue. They were able to hold him for that period till he was released, pending the determination of that immigration status.
I think he's been transferred.
Yes, exactly. So for me, I think that there's a need to, separate the issues and make it clear that the trial can proceed, obviously, but it will be good that the former finance minister avails himself to answer questions.
I think on this table, all of my panelists are quite clear with their position on the former finance minister. Vicky, let me come to you. So the International Monetary Fund has recommended
let me add something later
okay.
on that.
Yeah.
Before you come to, you see, and I'm happy with the clarity that Long has brought on this. The OSP. When did it occur to the OSP that it will begin a prosecution of Ken for wrongdoing? And I'm saying this not just for the OSP, but for all our state regulatory and bodies that are constitutionally mandated as accountability officers. Public accountability is a daily affair.
Mm-hmm.
From the beginning one assumes office to the end and post.
And after, yes.
And in some cases, there are limitations after a certain period when the person has left office. Mm-hmm. The President of the Republic is not immune from prosecution within the first 3 years after he leaves office. I hope we know that.
Yeah.
The immunity the President enjoys will only be triggered after 3 years upon leaving office. We need to understand that. Now, this OSP that is now prosecuting Ken, when did he realize that Ken had really fallen foul of the law? Remember, in the last year of the Nana Akufo-Addo administration, when he served as finance minister, he was no more a minister.
Yeah.
And these issues that we are talking about, he facing charges for now, could have been brought up at that time. Who stopped the OSP? Of course, I've heard the OSP's office say all sorts of things.
You said he was gathering evidence.
So my point is that don't let us wait till a certain expiration of time or tenure before we say accountability can begin. Accountability is with us every day. Okay. As we're speaking now, I am supposed to be accountable for what I'm saying here. And all of us. And of course, the time you allot us.
That's true. Vicky, I see you wanted to respond. And whilst said Natamaklo as well, is it mere coincidence or it's just how the law works, really?
I think it would be far-fetched to think it's a coincidence because they were arrested on the same day. They were arrested, one under the U.S. Marshal system because she has been convicted. And then Ken also, I think they were both sort of detained on the 6th. So, coincidence, I don't know, but this whole, maybe I should just end there because as my brother Kwabena said, there's a lot of drama, theatrics as he calls it, He should just come home and let's just, he should just come home, and if he believes he's innocent, come and clear his name.
No, okay, so we know that Sedna Tambaklo as well will be facing immigration courts January 21. That's just a day after the finance minister.
Okay, so this week they are both.
Yes. Does it mean anything to you at all that, she was arrested by the U.S. Marshals? Does it really look like she was invading accountability and justice at all? Does it suggest to you like that?
I think so. I agree with Vicky because
really,
yes, because the extradition request was actually made under the previous administration
last year.
Actually, 2004.
2024, right?
Exactly.
I think it was just after a conviction.
June 2024.
Yes,
just after
exactly. So we are talking about 2024.
Yes.
But again, as Vicky said, because she was convicted and the extradition is based on a conviction, that is handled by the U.S. Marshals. So so basically, U.S. Marshals are responsible for going after fugitives from justice, even in the U.S. itself.
Okay.
So essentially, they were tasked to do this, and they have done it. So her case is not tied to immigration.
It's strange on the same day.
Yes. Well,
because clearly
the U.S. they have a very it's a very interesting coincidence because. In fact, even in the arrest of Maduro, it's interesting to know that he was arrested on the exact same day that several decades ago the U.S. also arrested Che Guevara, who was also leader of Venezuela. I think they like to
just
a bit of
spice to them.
Just to help you, not necessarily so, but we must remember that the U.S. in dealing with some of these things considers that it is dealing with another nation.
Yes.
Of course. So
international relations come up.
Yes.
How you conduct yourself with respect to these individuals who are coming from another nation and have ties to other nations, and your whole public view within the Committee of Nations or international.
No, that one is very true. You're so right. Yeah. Which is why one of the reasons or the basis on which you can challenge the extradition is if you can show, for example, the U.S. court that your trial or your prosecution or your conviction is basically
political.
It's political.
And that's why it's a long, rigorous process.
Yes.
Extradition is not an easy.
So it's not straightforward. In fact, Senator Tambaklo and Kenneth Furata both can challenge the extradition, and they'll go through the U.S. court system to determine that. As we can see also, Abu Trika going through our system before we determine whether to be extradited or not. It's the same thing. So it is possible that if they're able to make their case, and I'm sure that's why they've retained the lawyers and so on that they have, they may, if they're able to prove their case there, they may be able to resist it. But of course, we are hoping that that will not be the case and they'll come.
So somebody like Sedna Tambaklo, for example, if she doesn't succeed her case in court, and then they bring her to Ghana, like how? They'll take her straight to Nsawam or what?
Straight, because she's already been convicted in Ghana.
So
there is a conviction in Ghana against her, which she has not appealed.
I think
she was
okay.
Yes, she has not appealed.
Yes.
She has not appealed her decision to the best of my knowledge, and so the conviction stands. And to the extent that the conviction stands, she's coming to serve her term.
So why didn't the Attorney General talk about it today? Because he seems to have spoken extensively about the former finance minister.
That's for the Attorney General to answer.
Maybe.
But I can
already secured the conviction in one case.
Yes.
This is now, and also Ken's case at this point is purely an administrative process.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think also people seem to have the commentary seems to suggest that you are not doing enough to bring him. So perhaps there's a need to clarify.
But while we ask that, we ask, okay, what about Sedna Tambaklo? What about Sedna Tambaklo?
So that's why I mentioned
Sedinam.
That's
the name is Sedinam, not Sedina.
Well, for some time I've known that it's Sedina.
Sedina, yes.
Sedina. I know Sedinam is a popular name, but maybe.
So MFA, the reason I mentioned the date of the request is because it is 2024, which means that we have to assume that the marshals have been looking for her since then. That's what it is, because if they receive the request, they have to go through the process, finding the person, and then the person having the opportunity to defend themselves. So perhaps they hadn't caught her all this while. They didn't know where she was.
They caught her 6th.
On 6th January.
Together with Ken.
Yeah. that one.
I think I'll take the
American intelligence.
It looks like they put a bit of power in there. Well, so the International Monetary Fund has recommended that Ghana places the losses incurred under its gold for reserve program on the budget's balance sheet rather than the Bank of Ghana absorbing those costs. Is this something that we agree to?
Say that again.
So the IMF has recommended that Ghana places the losses incurred under its gold for reserve program on the budget's balance sheets rather than have the Bank of Ghana absorb it. This is the 214 million loss that the gold board has incurred. And it says that the BOG shouldn't be the one absorbing it. We should rather spread it across. As a country, we absorb it in our balance sheet.
You want to start with me? I don't think that there is the IMF that should tell us how to balance our books. What I would insist on is that we are transparent. All this is coming at the back of the fact that there was an initial denial of some losses made, both from the Bank of Ghana and the Gold Board. Now it has come up that indeed there was. As to where we will place it, the most important thing for me is to be transparent about it. Whether it is a loss made under the gold, under the operations of the Gold Board or operations of the Bank of Ghana, this whole gold purchasing arrangement falls under the ambit or the regulations of the Bank of Ghana, doesn't it? Yes. So the Finance Ministry is the one responsible for presenting to the country our financial situation, whatever it is, based on data that it collects from all these institutions that play a role towards understanding our financial situation. What we need to do as a people is to be transparent and sincere to ourselves.
Okay.
As for the issue of where it is placed, once we are transparent about it and responsible, accountability will follow. I don't subscribe to the notion or the idea or the suggestion where some foreign entity is the one dictating to us as to where and how we should run ourselves. It is our duty. We can run ourselves and even choose to misrun. That is our choice.
Shouldn't we say this after the program has ended because they have an interest in how we spend our, we use our...
Well, we have made them to be interested because we are mismanaging ourselves.
That's the problem. Okay.
We are mismanaging. We are better off doing things our own way and not allowing them to be breathing on our neck when it is proven. Empirical data shows that any time we have followed the IMF suggestions or advice, we've run ourselves into problems. From the beginning of our history.
Vicky, do you agree?
I agree that there should be transparency. I think we can't ignore. If there's a hole somewhere, then it has to be, flushed out and accounted for so that we don't get ourselves into any deeper hole. I haven't followed the story this morning.
Okay.
Just now.
Okay. Okay. Lom, maybe I'll just take a few comments on it from you, Lom.
We shouldn't ignore it.
I think that, well, starting from the Constitution, the Bank of Ghana is supposed to be a very independent institution. And that's re-emphasized in the Bank of Ghana Act as well. And in this particular case, the Gold for Reserve program is a Bank of Ghana program, essentially. Yeah. So they making a case that it should be under the national budget is a bit problematic for me. I'm sure the economists can speak better to this, but in my view, it is an initiative of the Bank of Ghana. It is the Bank of Ghana that seeks to increase our reserves to ensure that we have more inflows and better control over foreign exchange transactions and how it impacts our country. And if it is their program, they should be sit independent of the central government. So adding it to the central government budget for me will be problematic. And as far as I can see it, it will be better. It is retained under the Bank of Ghana.
Okay. And also there are some other advantages, as we know. I mean, they are doing it for a purpose, to increase our reserves, to curb inflation, etc., etc. And so when you do everything, when you look at everything in the round, essentially, is it really a loss? I mean, really?
It's still a
when
debate
you look at
because the
some
Gold
of the
Board
things
says
that we are gaining, when you weigh the gains, because it's important not to be tunnel visioned about some of these things, so...
Another.
We have to do what works for us.
Another conversation that has come up. Well, it started late last year, where the GBA. Well, now let's narrow it to what the Constitution Review Committee suggests, says that the GBA should be removed from the Constitution. Doc.
I think that my organization is still reviewing the work of the committee. But to be honest with you, so far where we have reached, I'm not too happy with the work that they did. The Constitutional Review Committee. I'm not too happy for a number of reasons. You see, this is a report that they've said it was not the full report initially. We're told that a fuller report was coming. What is now within the public domain? It does not even give a background properly so if you compare to the work of the Constitutional Review Commission of Emeritus Professor Fiajo. And it doesn't give a justification for a number of the recommendations that they have made. But I would want to pause here and say that we are considering reviewing the entire document to come up with our position on what they have said. Bottom line, it is instructive to note that they tried to tease a number of things out of the work of the 2011 Constitutional Review Commission report and left out the justifications for them, apparently owning them. There's nothing wrong with that. We need to go back to it and see what they have said and how it sits well with what people have been aspiring to as far as the work of trying to get a better constitution is.
Okay.
My last statement on this is this. No matter what constitution we decide to be governed by, it is not so much the spirit and the letter, but how we as a people are faithful to what we aspire or choose to be governed by.
Okay. Lom, you've got anything to say on this?
A lot, actually. So, because Doc didn't go into it because, as he said, his organization is still reviewing. Yes. But I've looked at that particular recommendation. I've also seen the comments that have come in certain quarters. So, first of all, it is generally frowned upon for the Constitution to favor one organization over the other. This is basic constitutional law principle. So it is true that the Constitution from 93 had a GBA in. But GBA is an association. It's an organization like any other. In fact, myself and my senior Vicky here, we can form a new association today. LOM and Vicky Law Association. What happens if we also want representation on the Ghana Police Council? The Constitution guarantees freedom of association. And many associations can be created in this regard. So what the Constitution has done is that it has given pride of place to the GBA. In other words, it is only the GBA, that is the Lawyers Association, recognized in the Constitution. What the recommendation has done is to say that instead of referring to GBA, you tie it to the law associations or the fraternity. So if at any point in time we know that for this particular position we need a lawyer of a certain caliber or standing, they can pick from anywhere. Recently, we recall just last year when the group that is called LINSOD, Lawyers in Search of Democracy, paid a courtesy call on the Chief Justice. That's a new association. Where is LINSOD in the Constitution? LINSOD is not represented. So what it means is that in all the associations, in all the offices in the Constitution that require lawyers, as at now, is GBA that is appointing representatives to those. Beyond the Constitution, it is also interesting to know that there are several statutes which also had put the GBA in based on this history. So what they have said, and I think it makes a lot of sense, is that if you review our Constitution today, after 30 years and over, using it from 1993, to the extent that there are possibility for other associations, to the extent that there are other organizations, it is inappropriate to single one out to be the only association that can appoint members or Senate.
Unfortunately, my time is up. I hear you say you have a lot to say on this, but Vicky, let me give the few seconds to Vicky.
I think I agree with Long's view because, I mean, a lawyer is a lawyer, right? So I think it shouldn't have to be, and I'm sure some of my colleagues will be very upset with me saying this, or both of us for saying this. But I think, yeah, it should be broadened. That's all they're trying to do. They're not trying to remove lawyers.
Demonopolize.
Yeah, and I think it's fine. Yeah, it's.
Well, we look forward to the rest of your comments. If you're unable to say all of it here, maybe on your socials or anything, we'd like to read that. But Vicky, thank you so much. Doc, thank you so much. This morning we're joined by Dr. Kwabena Bonfair, lecturer and CEO of Census, who's reviewing the work of the Constitution Review Committee. We're looking forward to that. And Victoria Bright, lawyer and an entrepreneur. Lomnuku Ahlija, lawyer, you'd find him at GIMPA. He lectures at GIMPA and also an energy expert. He's also an author. But the AM show is sponsored by Shield Silicon Paint from Azar Group, Syntax Pipe, and Time Herbal Mixture. Fair Sky Group invites the public to its 23rd Thanksgiving service themed proclaiming the mighty deeds of the Lord, taken from Psalm 71, 15 through to 16, hosted by the founder and executive chairman, Mr. Eric Sedi Kokuche. Activities begin with an all-night service on Friday, January 23, 2026 at Trinity Temple, Assemblies of God, Tema. The main Thanksgiving event takes place on Sunday, January 25, 2026 at the Accra International Conference Center, featuring Reverend Dominic Yao as guest speaker, Apostle General Sam Kranch Yankra as chairman, and His Excellency John Dramani Mahama as special guest of honor. Administration of music by Kofi Amoabeng. This is the AM show. Please stay. We'll be right back.
Let's welcome the Time Ladies.
Say I'm malaria, I'm not too far. I'm too so time ever make sure, time ever make sure, time ever make sure. It's really a drum and one day, time ever make sure, time ever make sure. Onyim ne nneɔma no fo ntimi mfedro bi abofra ondi ifiedu no ntimi mfedro
ko hospital anasa lab nyanya wo akyiride mu nhwehwemu ansa na obetimi anomedro yi bi
kayo set time no time
ubenya bi ato ewo over the counter medicine sellers
any herbal shop to do na mu
FDA agi edwadue nkrato.
Now let me share my wildlife experience with you at Safari Valley Eco Park.
Welcome to Safari Valley.
Our electric shuttle pulled up, and in no time, our tour began. We were surrounded by wildlife from the moment we entered the eco park. We were greeted by experienced tour guides who took us through orientation and how to better enjoy the experience. Watch these animals roam freely in their natural habitat undisturbed by our presence. We saw zebras, sable antelope, brown crane, mara, silky chicken, nyalas, Shetland ponies, and so many animals I just couldn't keep up. Our tour guides taught us so much about the wildlife, their behavior, and how to interact with them. I even fed them. We also went fishing on a man-made canal. Then we took a break to have lunch in this serene environment. All this amazing experience for this price for adults, this price for teenagers. It's a bargain. As the sun began to set, it was time to go back home, but not before dinner by the campfire. It's been a thrill of a lifetime, and I can't wait till my next visit.
Safari Valley Eco Park, bringing you closer to nature.
Shield Silicone Paint repels water, dispels water vapor, is washable, self-cleaning, and durable. Now, you can appreciate how and why Shield Silicone Paint is super strong and thus able to do what other paints cannot do. Shield Silicone Paint from Azar Group since 1921.
What does it take to be Ghana's most useful technology company? Is it the fact that we've been connecting businesses to their customers for over 20 years? Or that we power more than 12% of all electronic transactions in Ghana? Maybe it's that we are everywhere, from Accra to Kumasi to Tadi, Cape Coast to Tamale. Or is it that we safely process more transactions than any indigenous tech company here in Ghana? Or we deliver faster, we transfer safer, or we make businesses and life just a little easier? But what truly makes us Ghana's most useful technology company, it isn't the speed or the numbers. It's the people we connect, the dreams we keep moving, the communities we bring closer every single day. You prove every day what usefulness really looks like. We give you the tools, you provide the proof. Haptel, useful.
Shield Silicone Paint repels water, dispels water vapor, is washable, self-cleaning, and durable. Now, you can appreciate how and why Shield Silicone Paint is super strong and thus able to do what other paints cannot do. Shield Silicone Paint from Azar Group since 1921.
Another week is here on the greatest of all time show. My name is Giovanni Clip, and tonight we're bringing you talent. Contestant number one, let's bring baby girl. Let's bring. He did it for you.
Oh, there is a leakage.
Where's the plumber? For quality and durability, insist on Syntex pipes.
If you want quality, this be where you belong.
Strong, tough, and reliable. Your perfect match to your trusted Syntex pipe. Syntex pipe, it dey carry water, no wahala. Syntex pipe, it dey make water dey flow. Syntex, and you're strong, and you're tough.
Hi, now let me share my wildlife experience with you at Safari Valley Eco Park.
Welcome to Safari Valley Eco Park.
Our electric shuttle pulled up, and in no time, our tour began. We were surrounded by wildlife from the moment we entered the eco park. We were greeted by experienced tour guides who took us through orientation and how to better enjoy the experience. Watch these animals roam freely in their natural habitat undisturbed by our presence. We saw zebras, sable antelope, brown cranes, mara, silky chicken, nyalas, Shetland ponies, and so many animals I just couldn't keep up. Our tour guides taught us so much about the wildlife, their behavior, and how to interact with them. I even fed them. We also went fishing on a man-made canal. Then we took a break to have lunch in this serene environment. All this amazing experience for this price for adults, this price for teenagers. It's a ball game. As the sun began to set, it was time to go back home, but not before dinner by the campfire. It has been a thrill of a lifetime, and I can't wait till my next visit.
Safari Valley Eco Park, bringing you closer to nature.
What juice are you taking?
This is Koa Natural 100% cocoa fruit juice.
Can I have a glass?
Of course.
Koa All natural, 100% cocoa fruit juice is not just your regular cocoa drink. This is an innovative juice made from the pulp of the cocoa fruit. Once the cocoa pod is harvested, the pulp, which would have been previously discarded, this time is set aside, and that is what is used to make your Koa Natural 100% cocoa fruit juice. Not only is Koa refreshing, the taste is incredible.
Wow. There's no added sugar, no additives, and no preservatives. 100% cocoa fruit juice. Don't worry, you won't be left out.
Wow, this is unbelievable. I will take this anytime, any day.
Admission time for the 2025-2026 academic year, and St. Andrews Senior High School is calling on all those who want to rewrite your WASSCE. If you failed one subject, 2 subjects, or even more, St. Andrews Senior High School is the right place for you. If you want to better your grades and finally get the results you've been working for, come to St. Andrews Senior High School. This year, every student passed with straight A's, 100% success, 0 failures, and you can be next. Over the years, St. Andrews Senior High School has been the #1 best private school in Ghana with excellent teaching staff and ultra-modern facilities that provide students with perfect environment for studies. We also provide comfortable and secure boarding facility to make your study experience even better. And here at St. Andrews, students never fail. So hurry and enroll now. At St. Andrews Senior High School, we say perseverance leads to success.
Welcome back. Now, was 2025 a good year for your business? Will 2026 be the year of growth for your business? How can you ensure you do not miss the numerous Africa opportunities in 2026? Now, join over 400 businesses and policy leaders as experts at Crystal Ball Africa 2026 reveal the opportunities and how to take advantage. The date, Thursday, January 22, 2026. Venue, Labadi Beach Hotel. Time, 8:30 to 5 p.m. Theme, the Africa opportunity. Time to take advantage. Don't miss the chance to network and tap into new opportunities. Register now to secure your spot. www.crystalballafrica.com. The sponsors are EcoBank, Labadi Beach Hotel, AGI, Kawamoka, media partners City FM and Joy FM. This event is powered by AB and Davies Africa. Now, it's time now to bring you the Galamsey and Bui Power Plants documentary, which shows how illegal mining activities around the Black Volta River are threatening the survival of the Bui Hydroelectric Power Dam, Ghana's 3rd largest power generation facility. Now, through on the ground reporting, expert analysis, and stakeholder accounts, the documentary exposes how unchecked illegal mining is accelerating, siltation, polluting and water resources, and creating security risk that could undermine national power stability.
Ghana's 3rd largest hydroelectric facility, the Bui Dam, built to power industries and homes across the nation, now faces an existential threat.
Mining at the banks or in the river is actually going to worsen the situation. It's going to get to a point where we may not have enough water in the river or in the dam to generate electricity from the middle belt.
This threat is not from nature, but from the surge of Galamsey or illegal mining activities creeping dangerously close to its lifeline, the Black Volta.
Once a sebsebio, ye Galamsey Jumano. Yasumede, Namsi and Kanokore. The Chene Dukra, I mean, go
I didn't think do a besaba.
In this documentary, Joy News' Nana Aljima exposes the sustainability of the nation's energy security being choked by environmental destruction.
This is worrying. In fact, some of the rivers that were programmed, smaller rivers that were Pra, Cobra, and the rest, that were programmed to do mini grids, mini electricity generation. I'm not sure today we can do it. Galamsey has actually destroyed those rivers.
Electricity remains the lifeblood of every economy, and for a developing country like Ghana, its role in driving growth and development cannot be overstated. A reliable power supply is central to productivity from industry to household, hence the significant investments in generation capacity. According to the 2025 Energy Outlook for Ghana, the country currently boasts of an installed capacity of 5,260 megawatts, with a dependable capacity of 4,855 megawatts. This is expected to meet the projected system peak demand of 4,125 megawatts, with a reserve margin of 18%. At the heart of Ghana's energy mix is the Bui Generating Station, one of the nation's largest power suppliers, contributing a total of 404 megawatts hydroelectric power with a 250 megawatt solar plant under construction. The hydroelectric facility is built on the Blackfulter River, falling within the Bui National Park, which is managed by the Forestry Commission. Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, Benjamin Boachi, speaks of the relevance of the dam on the country's power generation.
If you look at Bui, it's not just about the power it generates or the megawatts that we get from it. It's also very strategic in terms of location. The geography that Bui finds itself within the Ghanaian context is quite strategic, because you need some load in the middle belt to be able to balance your load and be able to ensure that you have great stability and reduce your losses. So in the middle belt, until recently when we sent some power generation to Kumasi, Bui was the anchor. It was the one that was actually preserving the integrity of the grid in the middle belt.
But the upsurge of illegal mining within the reservoirs of the dam threatens the dam's lifespan. Aside from some individuals mining in the Blackfulter, illegal communities are springing up within the reserve. Acting Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the Bui Power Authority, Samuel Nimakumbuatin, speaking to the media in July 2025, explained the authority is overwhelmed by the invasion of its operational area. The interview was on the sidelines of a visit by some top officials of the Ghana Air Force to the BPA.
As you all know, Galamsey has become very rife in the country. All efforts are being exhausted here to extirpate here the activities of Galamsey. And without the military at the forefront of this fight, we cannot achieve anything.
A Joy News investigative team set out to gather evidence of illegal mining along the dam. The team made a 30-minute journey on a boat to one of the communities notorious for illegal mining. This new settlement for illegal miners is named Akufuado. The mission here is to gather facts on the reality of a national security threat posed by the illegal miners and their activities close to power installations. Even before the boat will dock, the noise from the Champagne engines is heard about 300 meters from the mining area. Upon sighting the boat, which looked different from those plying the route, some of the illegal miners halted operations and most of them took to their heels. Others threw caution to the wind, perpetrating the illegality with impunity. They mine along the banks of the reservoir of the Bui Dam. The area being mined, according to sources, is an extension of the dam in the rainy season. Here, the mining operations mainly involve the digging of small pits about 4 to 5 feet deep and the same size wide. Simple tools like hoes and pickaxes are the main tools deployed for the activity. From the soil dug, they wash for the precious metal. With some fan machines, they pump water from the dam to wash the sand for the gold deposit. This wastewater is diverted back into the dam, leading to the siltation and pollution of the dam. Acting Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the Bui Power Authority, Samuel Nimakumbuatin, says the menace is causing siltation of the dam's reservoirs.
When the Galamsey activities is done, especially upstream, what happens is that it causes siltation of the river. That decreases the effective volume of the reservoir. So if, let's say, we are expecting the reservoir to contain about 100 meter cube of water, because of this Galamsey activity, it will rather reduce it to about 80. And then when it reduces to 80, it means that you have limited amount of water to generate power, and that will affect the power generation.
But the miners insist their activities in the river and its banks cannot harm the dam. One of their leaders, Etu, claims they mine sustainably.
The year dear way, ye two way, and Timim cross so careful wimpo, Nankasa ko animal. The Ukase, when ye de way bet me, a causes up Lublana. Navi, dear dear, intimate.
Another leader who also gives his name as Abodie is unable to confirm or denying whether their activity pollutes the dam. He says the leadership of the miners often patrol the banks of the river to check against the washing of their tailings into the dam.
Now it's time now to bring you the Galamsey and Bui Power Plants documentary, which shows how illegal mining activities around the Black Volta River are threatening the survival of the Bui Hydroelectric Power Dam, Ghana's third largest power generation facility. Now, through on the ground reporting, expert analysis and stakeholder accounts, the documentary exposes how unchecked illegal mining is accelerating siltation, polluting and water resources, and creating security risk that could undermine national power stability.
Ghana's third largest hydroelectric facility, the Bui Dam, built to power industries and homes across the nation, now faces an existential threat.
Mining at the banks or in the river is actually going to worsen the situation. It's going to get to a point where we may not have enough water in the river or in the dam to generate electricity from the middle belt.
This threat is not from nature, but from the surge of Galamsey or illegal mining activities creeping dangerously close to its lifeline, the Black Volta.
One says, Sebsebio, ye Ganassia Jumano. Yasumede, Namsian Canocre.
That's in a Dukrabi or Amikovia.
I didn't think you do a Besaba.
You might so yeah, no.
In this documentary, Joy News' Nana Yaujima exposes the sustainability of the nation's energy security being choked by environmental destruction.
This is worrying. In fact, some of the rivers that were programmed, smaller rivers that were like Pra, Cobra, and the rest, that were programmed to do mini grids, mini electricity generation. I'm not sure today we can do it. Galamsey has actually destroyed those rivers.
Electricity remains the lifeblood of every economy, and for a developing country like Ghana, its role in driving growth and development cannot be overstated. A reliable power supply is central to productivity from industry to household, hence the significant investments in generation capacity. According to the 2025 Energy Outlook for Ghana, the country currently boasts of an installed capacity of 5,260 megawatts, with a dependable capacity of 4,855 megawatts. This is expected to meet the projected system peak demand of 4,125 megawatts, with a reserve margin of 18%. At the heart of Ghana's energy mix is the Bui Generating Station, one of the nation's largest power suppliers, contributing a total of 404 megawatts hydroelectric power, with a 250 megawatt solar plant under construction. The hydroelectric facility is built on the Blackfalter River, falling within the Bui National Park, which is managed by the Forestry Commission. Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, Benjamin Boachi, speaks of the relevance of the dam on the country's power generation.
If you look at Bui, it's not just about the power it generates or the megawatts that we get from it. It's also very strategic in terms of location. The geography that Bui finds itself within the Ghanaian context is quite strategic, because you need some load in the middle belt to be able to balance your load and be able to ensure that you have great stability and reduce your losses. So in the middle belt, until recently when we sent some power generation to Kumasi, Bui was the anchor. It was the one that was actually preserving the integrity of the grid in the middle belt.
But the upsurge of illegal mining within the reservoirs of the dam threatens the dam's lifespan. Aside from some individuals mining in the Blackfalter, illegal communities are springing up within the reserve. Acting Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the Bui Power Authority, Samuel Nimakumbuatin, speaking to the media in July 2025, explained the authority is overwhelmed by the invasion of its operational area. The interview was on the sidelines of a visit by some top officials of the Ghana Air Force to the BPA.
As you all know, Galamsey has become very rife in the country. All efforts are being exhausted here to extirpate here the activities of Galamsey. And without the military at the forefront of this fight, we cannot achieve anything.
A Joy News investigative team set out to gather evidence of illegal mining along the dam. The team made a 30-minute journey on a boat to one of the communities notorious for illegal mining. This new settlement for illegal miners is named Akufuado. The mission here is to gather facts on the reality of a national security threat posed by the illegal miners and their activities close to power installations. Even before the boat will dock, the noise from the Champagne engines is heard about 300 meters from the mining area. Upon sighting the boat, which looked different from those plying the route, some of the illegal miners halted operations and most of them took to their heels. Others threw caution to the wind, perpetrating the illegality with impunity. They mine along the banks of the reservoir of the Bui Dam. The area being mined, according to sources, is an extension of the dam in the rainy season. Here, the mining operations mainly involve the digging of small pits about 4 to 5 feet deep and the same size wide. Simple tools like hoes and pickaxes are the main tools deployed for the activity. From the soil dug, they wash for the precious metal. With some fan machines, they pump water from the dam to wash the sand for the gold deposit. This wastewater is diverted back into the dam, leading to the siltation and pollution of the dam. Acting Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the Bui Power Authority, Samuel Nimakumbuatin, says the menace is causing siltation of the dam's reservoirs.
When the Galamsey activities is done, especially upstream, what happens is that it causes siltation of the river. That decreases the effective volume of the reservoir. So if, let's say, we are expecting the reservoir to contain about 100 meter cube of water, because of this Galamsey activity, it will rather reduce it to about 80. And then when it reduces to 80, it means that you have limited amount of water to generate power, and that will affect the power generation.
But the miners insist their activities in the river and its banks cannot harm the dam. One of their leaders, Etu, claims they mine sustainably. Another leader who also gives his name as Abodie is unable to confirm or denying whether their activity pollutes the dam. He says the leadership of the miners often patrol the banks of the river to check against the washing of their tailings into the dam.
But ubesan ko na alikia fa baby nti etom rebi kura na ye no mu ye bom hard ho.
According to Abodie, in the rainy season, their mining committee ensures all the dugout sand is sent far from the reach of the dam's overflow point. By this measure, he says the sand is not washed directly into the dam.
He has season, time and soon better. It is soon better. I am a baki anyana eba echiri. Sene beya yensu nya problem because when I me there me nya manobia na yede edidi. Ti bosu sebe mesere meka. Ye ka say ye figu nso no ma. This ebia sisia but entim ka say enokran say enokore.
The generation of hydroelectric power depends on rainfall patterns to sustain the water levels in the dam. With illegal mining silting the dams and the erratic rainfall due to climate change, many are pointing to a national emergency in dealing with the situation. Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ASAP, Benjamin Boache, envisages half of the Ashanti region may be cut off the national grid if the situation persists.
So if it is given as a minimum of 200 megawatts, without that, almost half of Kumasi will not have electricity. So that is how significant. We have in recent years also see the plant struggle, and sometimes when the rains don't come on time, So if we keep mining at the banks or in the river, it's actually going to worsen the situation. It's going to get to a point where we may not have enough water in the river or in the dam to generate electricity from the middle belt.
For mining activities, many youth of the Bongase community, one of the communities along the Black Volta, have deserted their homes to settle in the reserve. They are the main people behind the illegality. Meet Henry Ahin, who is believed to have discovered the community which is now called Akufuado.
I'm from Akufuado. Mediankasa di Henry. Ba akwese omusi omo ba hono. Ana omusi mi yetia. Yini party yetia. Ana omo from Akufuado no sana. Akao.
Le from Akufuado is ada atukuru.
There's no one omusi atukuru. Nti se bia obi firi hazi anaso obi firi baby na oba kwa omusi kwa Akufuado ekura. Eno na ma akao sa.
The area which Henry made his second home for fishing activities was called Kasebomi. He has been fishing at the location for over 10 years, and the business here was very lucrative. But the invasion of the area by these miners has negatively impacted the fishing business. He says the dam sometimes turns muddy due to the mining activities.
Oh, affect me kakladi. Yeah, how you kaka?
I didn't kasa how kaka.
Ako say the way I dey kay nim say ejuma no be kono. Koso sa. Te say dia na di kan chiri mi say kwa nya fine no e bia nsia no. Mi say kwa nsia no nya. Nsia no nya na sa. Ti hono na metimu say a chiri so kaka mai.
According to Henry, the illegal miners migrated to the area in gangs. A group of miners who first arrived to prospect for gold left in futility. But another group that followed was successful, hence the establishment of the community. The settlement, which the Forestry Commission has described as illegal, has now developed into a bigger community with a population of over 6,000. By law, the Bui National Park and the catchment of the Bui Power Authority are protected areas, hence settlements are illegal. Manager for the Bui National Park, Dramani Dauda Jawad, says there are presently 4 established Galamsey settlements in the park.
So we have the Akufuado combined with Alegeles, which seems to be one community. We have the Dollar Power community, we have Alaba, and we have Dokochina. So about 4 major communities. The rest are Scotty, sometimes fisher folk who put pavilions along the Black Volta just to stay and then do fishing.
Among these settlements, the Akufuado community poses the greatest threat to the Black Volta as they mine just on the banks of the dam. The settlement is a slum. Homes here are constructed from wood and metal sheet roofing. Other structures have nylons or plastics used as roofing and covers for the wooden shacks. It has its own provision shops, boutiques, restaurants, drinking spots, entertainment centers, beauty salons, among others, all operating in the makeshift structures. A mosque is erected here for the Muslim inhabitants. Under one of the shelters serving as a salon and provision shop, I caught up with these women. Gladys, who relocated here from Kintampo, Apeusika, is getting her hair done. She claims to be a shop attendant, but will not give the name of her shop nor that of the owner. But she says she is at a settlement to make money, though disappointed after arriving.
The mama de beduane say na me ejuma na me ejuma na ase mama mi so ewu me peska ko yeyi me nyeska ko yeyi na obi se ejuma wa na me de bae
nti ejuma be na ba me no ha
pacha me ton ade wa stone
e de be no stone kan dem wa ton chebe
pacha drinks drinks and biscuits.
Now, buy business to send Akufo-Addo ha.
Say Jumanya. But now fit and a pack of men Brian Tradi. Tama de be declared.
I didn't enter the first net to send assistance to sing.
Oh, Pacho member had Meba could have in a mania busum.
Yes, any panel catcher said you want that one. A
patch.
The old Germans of Bakwana is still better now.
The settlement, siting along the Blackfulter and in the middle of the Bui National Park, remains illegal. Over the years, the Forestry Commission has led operations to clear the settlement. On 3 occasions between March and August this year, a security operation spearheaded by the Forestry Commission and the Bui Power Authority torched makeshift homes at Akufo-Addo in efforts to evacuate people here.
My predecessors have tackled it. I had in records where they have done burnings, they have done confiscations. Then between March and August, I personally have carried out 3 operations there, burning the structures. You know, these structures are robbers. Burning, confiscating, and making some arrests. But it's quite unfortunate that these people, you sack them today, 2-3 days, you don't go back, you go back, they are there. It's a challenge. But we have made several attempts to sack them, several burning the place, you sack them. For some time they come back.
But despite the efforts to flush out the illegal mining community, the population continues to grow. Etu insists they are unwilling to abandon the community regardless of the force being used.
I didn't
do a besaba.
The man say, on said, yes, a Juma, so yeah, no. Until Mammy didn't got enough money a year. Dear Juma, and so may no. Dear Yashini Dua. Yabe say, oh, even a band every day, security power Hambuna Jumano. May my dear Kofi, because Kofi, dear Mako no fino. And for Papa Mereme. The name Kofi and Wame. To
the park manager, a security base will have to be established in the area to ensure the people, once flushed out, do not return. Mr. Dramani Dauda reveals most of the settlers are nomad miners who are always looking for an abode.
I can say that one can be survivor. It seems to be a livelihood for most of the, especially the foreigners, and they don't even have a place to go. So as far as they get there as an abode, sometimes you sack them, which community do they belong to. So if they don't identify another mining site to go, it means they hide around or they move out for some time, then they monitor the system and they get back. Most Ghanaians, you arrest them or you go to burn the place, most of the Ghanaians sometimes leave. But the foreigners are difficult to control.
The police and other security agencies sometimes join the private security of the Bui Power Authority and the Forestry Commission in fighting the menace. But the combat has largely yielded positive results in a section of the park. Until September this year, Shamfan boats were floating at the Yekope end of the Blackfulter. Through collaborative security efforts, over 93 Shamfan machines have been seized. Series of operations along the Blackfulter have resulted in the arrest of 12 motorbikes, over 40 pumping machines and generators. 37 people have so far been arrested and put before court.
Around Viekra and around the Waka Waka enclave. So together with the Bui Power Authority military team, I think we have launched a very serious attack on them. we are able to, let me say, over 90% successful, because we confiscated over 90 chamfan machines on the water, and then we banned a lot of their items that they use. So it used to exist for the last 2 months and 3 months back, but successfully I think we are able to attack that aspect, and it is now at a low side.
The Bui Power Authority has expressed concern about the invasion of its territory by illegal miners. To deal with the situation, the authority has provided logistical support to various security agencies operating within the Bono and Savannah regions. Charles Tufuo, Community Relations Manager, made this known.
So as an organization, we've been supporting the military, the Navy, the police. At times we partner with the Bono Regional Coordinating Council. In terms of resources, we've given about 2 Ford pickups to the Bono Regional Coordinating Council. That was handed over in July. And we've done same to the Savannah Regional Coordinating Council through their regional ministers, 2 pickups, which we support them with fuel card every month since we started this exercise. So on our part as We Power, our internal security, you've already spoken to them. They are doing their best. They go there, make sure that the illegal miners, which most of them are foreigners, stays away, especially those working with chamfan, trying to use the chamfan machine on the river. They normally go and, sack them, arrest some of them, and now we have about 91 chamfan machines seized and about 54 water pumping machines seized from the illegal miners. We will keep them, and I think at the appropriate time we are going to hand them over to the government to take the necessary action on these things.
In spite of these gains, the Forestry Commission cannot renege as the damage caused within the catchment remains huge. The harm of illegal mining to some of the country's major river bodies remains glaring as some of them continue to lose their quality. Some of these rivers, including the Pra River, were programmed to be used in energy production. But with the damage done, many doubt the ability of such rivers to serve the purpose. Benjamin Boache of ASEP warns against losing the Bui Dam as well.
This is worrying. In fact, some of the rivers that were programmed, smaller rivers that were like Pra, Cobra, and the rest, that were programmed to do mini grids, mini electricity generation. I'm not sure today we can do it. Galamsey has actually destroyed those rivers. So we can't now have existing rivers that are generating power also get threatened. These chemicals that I'm not sure to what extent they could even react with the turbines and energy systems that we will put into the river. So we need to carefully look at it and stop it before it degenerates or get worse. Because once they start and continue the way they've done to Eastern, Western, and Ashanti region, we may lose the dam.
In July 2025, the Ghana Air Force revealed plans to establish an Air Force base at Joboi near Bamboy in the Savannah region for its operations and to offer help in the fight against illegal mining on the Black Volta. The initiative forms part of the renewed commitment to combat illegal mining and protecting public investments. This was announced by the commander of the Tactical Air Command at Bui, Air Commodore Kwabna Kisiedu Mankure Atiemu, during the visit of the Ghana Air Force Commander, Air Vice Marshal Patrick Ajin Frempong, to the proposed project site and the Bui Power Authority as part of his maiden working visit to the area.
We Power Authority also in seeking to protect the dam and to stave off certain threats that are in the reservoir and north of it in the Black Volta are also very happy assisting us and partnering us to set up a base here so that we can have an airfield that both facilitates security but also will facilitate logistics and that kind of thing in support of the dam.
The first phase of the project, which includes an operational airfield, is expected to be completed within 2 years, while the entire development will take 5 years. Until the project completed and the intention of ending all illegalities along the dam's catchment is achieved, Bui Power's 404 megawatts generation facility will continue to be under threat. The Bui Dam is more than concrete and turbines. It is the heartbeat of Ghana's middle belt, the power behind industry, schools, and homes. But Galamsey threatens to dim that light. Protecting Bui is not just about saving electricity. It is about safeguarding livelihoods, preserving our environment, and securing Ghana's future. The choice is ours. Gold today or light for generations.
Much for staying with us. This is the AM show, and today we have a very special exclusive. An exclusive that is exclusive. We're excited that Captain Prince Kofi Amoabeng, retired, has agreed to sit with us. We get to talk about everything that I hope that if you met him, you would like to ask him: politics, governance, his life, his foundation, how's his court case coming up, how is he feeling, the new government, is he hopeful? We'll ask all the questions, so stay with us. Captain, how have you been? Thank you for sitting with us.
MFI, it's a pleasure meeting you, and I've been good. God has blessed me. I'm happy, I'm healthy, and I only thank my God every day when I wake up.
It's good to know. Let's start from 2025. Did you have a good year?
Yeah, I have a good year every year. 2025, yeah, we actually, in the end, inducted the third cohort of the Kofi Amoabeng Leadership Foundation. And then we also graduated the second cohort at the same time. We had good interactions, and they give me hope a little bit that all is not lost for the country. So yeah, 2025 was a good year.
You're taking your concept of leadership a little further. I see that it found expression in all of your books that you have authored, the ET story, almost in all of the volumes that you have released. Then you have taken a step further, started in foundation, and every time I hear you speak, it's leadership, leadership, leadership. What has happened to you over the years?
It's realization of what we need as a country. You know, I believe sincerely that God took me through all sort of a different, exciting journey. From school, military, business, God supported me to give me a voice because people know what I did and it was exceptional and I was acknowledged and all those things. And then God said, hold on, I think this is enough. You have something else to do. Because as I sit, especially after the bank collapse and things like that, I reflect, how could the bank collapse? Well, I believe I was doing what was right in terms of servicing people, servicing society, building companies, making people able to feed their families and all that. So when it collapsed, I just said, and I looked at myself in the mirror and said, God, you are a wonderful God.
And how many years after the collapse, or immediately?
No, I mean, the question, that was in 2017.
Yeah, the realization that your sigh with God, when did it come?
The thing is, at any point in time, I think we're all here for a purpose. At any point in time, ask yourself, what can I do? What purpose do I pursue? And as I was saying, my journey making me who I am, I have a voice, people follow me and all that. So when the bank went down, I looked at myself and said, so what is next? Because I've been through all this interesting journey. And I evaluated myself and I said, okay, fine. At least I have the experiences, if nothing at all. So I sat down and said, if I have nothing at all to give to people, at least I have my experiences to share, especially for the next generation or the future generation. That's when I started writing a book. And we wrote a book. We were trying to write one book to talk about UT story. And my co-author, George, says, Chief, it is so rich, we can't keep it as one book. So we said we'll do 2 books. Then he came back and said, the second book will be overtaken, but the bank alone, we haven't touched it. So then I wrote 3 books. UT Story Volume 1, Humble Beginnings, which teaches people how to start when you don't have the money and you don't have the customers and you don't have the people, and how you groom them and the culture and things that you must create. Then we have UT Story Volume 2, that is about building a winning team. That's the title of it. And this is about putting structures and expanding, and what do you follow, what don't you follow? Because you know UT, apart from UT Financial Services, we had UT Properties, UT Logistics, UT all sort of things, and then went to UT went to Nigeria and South Africa and all those. So how do you expand? Then there's the 3rd book, which is about the bank, which most people wanted to know about. I said, what happened? You know, so the first one was to say, what do I have to give? I said, I can give my experience and let it be lessons for people. Because my father used to say that if you have soft years, you don't have to go through difficult experiences. Because experience can be very expensive. But if you have soft years, you learn.
It costs you.
Yeah. So after those books, I reflected and I said, what really, really, really is the problem that Ghanaians have? Or Africa, what's the problem that we have? And it's quite obvious. The reason why we are underdeveloped and we don't go anywhere, and actually we're going, if you ask me, we're going down south. Because the things that we used to enjoy and was available, it's no more there. So there's growth, but there's no development. And I said, what is the cause? And if it doesn't take too much to come to realization, it's about the kind of leadership that we have, or the kind of leadership that we don't have. Then I say that, listen, so what kind of leader can change our narrative? It must be a leader who's been trained and created deliberately, because when you have a problem and you identify the problem, you now create the expert who can solve that problem. So for example, you have a toothache. You don't go to just a medical doctor. You go to a dentist. So I'm saying we have a lot of leaders in this country, but we have a leader with a heart, with the ethics, with the values, with God-fearing values, who is selfless and would think about the general good. We don't train people like that. We only train them to be accountants, engineers, lawyers, But then the values that will let them love other people, they're absent. So I said, okay, fine. So I would devote my time to try and create some of these leaders and put them in the system. Because nowadays, people vying to public offices just to take advantage of the position and rip the state apart. It's unbelievable. People get into positions about themselves and what they can take. And it's about plundering. It's not even about what they need. So we started, I was going to schools to go and give lectures, and then I go to some companies and all those things, and then I had a discussion with my friend. They said, if you really, really want to have something that will really make the mark, then adopt some people and more or less clone them like yourself.
Okay.
So that brought the idea about the cohort, and therefore we invited people to come to Kofi Amoabeng Leadership Foundation, and when they came, we had a short curriculum. You go first for military training. Military training, because that is what changed me. I used to be in discipline like nobody else. So you go to military training for about a week, which is intensive, about leadership, about team building, about love for other people, and all those things. Then you come out of it, and then we have boot camps, and then we give you a mentor, and we have all sort of virtual meetings and all that. And we had a successful graduation for the first ones, and then we inducted a second group, and it's going extremely well.
Well done, congratulations.
Even though it looks hopeless for Ghana, I think when I talk with these young people who have passed through our sessions, I can sleep better. And I know that there are some people who have Ghana and Africa at heart to probably change the narrative. Because at the end of it, we want to give hope a chance. We can't just say it's looking hopeless, but we have to create people who can give hope a chance.
Talking about hope, talking about leadership, let's scale it up to what we have now. You have just trained these people, you have thrown them, I'd say, the market. They haven't gotten to the point where they will start taking decisions for us as a country. So we've got to deal with what we have now. We have a new president. We have a new, I won't say new. He's done a year already, so he's gone and has been back. How do you describe his current leadership style? From
you mean President Mahama?
Yes.
I think I'll be I hope I'll not be biased, because I know him a bit more.
Even better.
Yeah, so I would say without any doubt that he's quite humane and has feeling for people, and he goes for the general good. He has humility, and even the wife is worse when it comes to humility and those values. And he means well. Obviously, he means well, and he's had to assemble a team to do what he thinks will take Ghana out of the mess in which we are. The problem is, even though they are achieving results, which is quite obvious, if you look at inflation, you look at the cedi to dollar rate, you look at all sort of indicators, they are doing well. But the problem is that we've been through a lot of bad times that we're only watching. Even though we want to be optimistic, we are very cautious about it. So we're not getting the desired results that will change and create jobs and get this. So back to President Mahama, I think we are blessed to have somebody like that. It's easy. You see how he relates to people, no bars held and all sort of things. And it's about respecting everybody. Now, the aspect that I think he probably will have to pay attention is building back the institutions and making them powerful and strong, and using the institutions to make sure that everybody is respected. Unfortunately, he has had issues with the judiciary and a few other places, and it's because he wants things done in a certain way. Probably he's not getting that way. That is a bit politician. I don't want to go there. But personally, I think no matter what we do or any leader does, we should get a judiciary that we have faith in and we respect, and they are up and doing. Because without that, that's like the last hope. Without that, things won't happen. Businesses won't succeed. People won't come and invest, because if you have a small issue, you can't resolve it. And I always say that whether we succeed or not depends on the kind of judiciary that we create.
It's good you say the judiciary. I'm even more curious because you have lived its very life experience. We'll come to that shortly. But on President Mahama and the team, of course, he cannot achieve all of these nice things that he said from campaign all through the policies they're rolling out. The team he has now, how would you rate them? Does it look good?
Well, I don't think I'm the right person to judge, but eventually we'll see if the team is good. But the thing about leadership at his level, at the president level, is being able to sack or sanction from the top. And, you know, in the previous government, even their own MPs said they should get rid of some people, and they wouldn't do it. So, and let me say, the only thing I'm not sure about our president is that he loves to see people happy. He likes to please people.
Would that be a problem?
Yes, because you must be a bit crazy to say this is where we are going, and if you're not doing it, you get the sanctions. If it means sack, you sack.
When the people rebel? Which people?
We're talking about these people with responsibilities. You make them responsible and accountable. It's very, very important when you're dealing with people, for them not just to have a rosy day, but to monitor and question their performance and sanction. Sanction always helps. If you look at the other stories in Singapore, in Rwanda and things like that, and Korea, Japan, whatever you want to talk about, it's about they have leaders who are not only loving, as in loving their people, but they will demand accountability and hold you responsible and sanction. I mean, in China, if you are found guilty of corruption, they will kill you. Mm-hmm. and it's not that they don't like those people, but it's part of governing people and making sure that the systems work.
Judiciary, you just drew my attention to the fact that if the judiciary doesn't work, the country will not even grow. I would have thought that BOG would do well, the economy will grow, inflation is at a single digit, you know. The current judiciary, and maybe it will also be too early for you to want to judge it, but you have lived it, by the way. How is your court case coming out? Then we situate the judiciary conversation.
Okay, before the court case, you know, when I was running UT Bank, a simple thing like debt collection, where somebody has come, there's all the evidence that they've taken money from an institution and they have not paid, and they have a collateral that should be realized if they are not paying. I had some in my books that lasted 8 years. Meandering and doing all sort of things, go and revalue, adjourn, sometimes even the judge dies, they have to appoint a new judge and all sort of things. So there's no delivery of justice. And therefore, what happens is that the institutions will suffer, and then you get a lot more people playing by the books and therefore being crooks and avoiding their responsibilities and things like that. Now, when it comes to my own case, where I was at the bank and I resigned in 2015, and the bank was collapsed in 2017, almost 2 years after I resigned. And then there were some baseless charges against me. I have been in court for almost 8 years. Now, if I'm not the type of person who say that, listen, it's okay, I think I still have a purpose, I'm going to do things, I mean, that would have been the end of me. I mean, paying even legal fees for 7, 8 years and then going to court every so often and all, it's not a pleasant thing. And this is what is happening to somebody who's been acknowledged as Ghana's most respected CEO, a national award, Johnny Walker and everything. We tend to kill our own. And then when the case goes to court, nothing much happens. And I've been in court for 8 years. I mean, I could have died because the second accused in our case died. And he was a younger person. So you find that when it comes to even land issues, the cases can go for 40 years. The litigants die. The next of kin even die. And that is not justice. That's what I'm saying. For me, if we do anything to ensure that people are respected and they get the justice they require, we must look at the judicial system and set limits. For example, you can set limit for every type of crime. Maybe debt collection should not take more than 3 months. Land issue should not take more than this. And let the judges stay within those limits. But the point is, you cannot do that without looking at the welfare and the remuneration of the judges and the system. You know, so a lot of people, not a lot of people, but you know, when they came out, what was his name? The investigator.
The OSP?
No, our good friend who actually exposed the corruption in the judicial system, some people taking goat and also, so it is not good for our system. Anas, you know. And this is well documented, and it came out. What did we do about it? I think we have to overhaul the judicial system and look at it as a business.
Would you say the removal of the Chief Justice amounts to an overhaul?
This is a bit controversial. It depends on which side, but I don't want to go there.
Okay. What do you think the removal of the Chief Justice amounts to?
As a good side are saying if she is culpable for what they said she did, then of course you can't give her the cover because she's Chief Justice. But there's also the other side, where a new government comes and then overthrows the Chief Justice or get the Chief Justice. It means maybe you want to even weaponize the judiciary and try to use it to get the people that you think you want to get at. So it's unfortunate that the Chief Justice had to be moved out, because then it's got its repercussions. As in, those who believe that she should be out will support, and those who believe that it's really, really below the belt.
In your view, does it strengthen or weaken institutions, and most especially the judiciary, that the share removal?
It shows that institutions are being weakened. You know, in Ghana now, everything is politicized, which is sad. Because when I was in the army, for example, we were not supposed to discuss politics as a military man, and not supposed to discuss religion. Because we are a team, and we can be called upon to defend the country anytime, and it doesn't matter who, you're supposed to do your work. But now I can tell you that even the military has been politicized. Not by this government. I mean, previous governments have politicized the military, so that even a corporal, a lance corporal, a general, you know that this is the party they're supporting, which is not good for the country. And of course, the president or the government of the day makes all the appointments of anything you can think about. So they come to power, and it's about job for the boys and all those things, and it's about you win everything. And it's not good for a country. I mean, there are some people who have the expertise and other things, and notwithstanding what you can bring them in to support the government of the day, monitor them, and let them deliver the best possible. But I think the political party will not support the president to do that. Why? Because they need a lot of money to be able to pay back what they've spent and also build a war chest for the next election.
There have been many petitions. I mean, over the years, even during the Akufo-Addo led government, there was a petition. It would include petitions to remove judges, but it would amount to nothing. When this particular conversation started, the petition, sometimes you watch the news and you think it's just one of those. But it kept going. It kept going. At any point in time, did it shock you? Did you say, hey, it looks like this is it's getting serious? Did it in any way?
Yeah, but I'm not surprised most of the time, because you can see why they do the things that they do. And it's because people have become greedy, and they want everything for themselves, to the point where sometimes my biggest problem is, how much money do they need? And when will they love Ghanaians a little bit? You know, and that is why I decided to create some leaders who have a different mindset and do things differently.
I'll take this from a businessman who has run an institution which we confidently can say that was doing very well until it faces challenges. They say that the economy has made some gains. They say the BOG is doing well. There are a few pushbacks. Economists say that, well, it's too early. The government is not spending. This is why we're not getting the shocks that we're getting. I'll take it from you. Is the government doing well? Is the economy doing well?
I think it's supposed to do even better than what they're doing now. But what you said, I mean, why do you have to spend what you don't have?
What does that mean?
you say the government is not spending, but we don't have money. And we have to actually make sure that what we spend, we have. Otherwise, we're going into debt and inflation and all the feedback. So it's a disciplined government that will not spend what they don't have. I mean, really, in our homes, you will not eat jollof and things like that if you don't have money. You just buy kinky and eat. When you have money, then you go and eat your jollof. So if we don't have the money, and we don't, then you don't expect the government to come and just start spending. You should spend, and in actual fact, this government is doing well in terms of trying to build roads and infrastructure and things as they monitor the development and things like that. But I think the private sector also have to play a role, to believe in the government and what they're doing, and be able to also do the expected, as in expand their businesses and employ people and put monies into the businesses. So the government is only supposed to set the base or the trend, and people should pick it up.
When I hear somebody say that everything that the BOG is doing is artificial, what should I tell them?
I don't think it's artificial. I think the issue that is coming up is that there is this loss that has come in the news, that there's a loss because of the gold buying, and Bank of Ghana has made a loss of about 214 million. And that 240 million, whether I should sit with Gold Board or should sit with Bank of Ghana, the point is, I'm not even too worried about the fact that there's some money ring-fenced as a loss. First thing is, was it necessary? And what was the impact of that on the whole economy? Sometimes you, even in business, you can keep a business that you know is going to make losses, right? But then you look at the impact on the whole economy. Is it worth making those losses? That's the first thing. And then there has to be transparency about it. I mean, if Bank of Ghana should come and say that, okay, this is what we are doing for the nation, and these are the consequences, these are the costs and things like that, I think it will take a bit of the uncertainty around it.
If you look at how a leader must be very, maybe I'm not finding the right word, brutal, to be able to take decisions that they firmly believe that their people or their followers would need because it will give them the result. Should that government or should that leader be transparent with and to its people?
As much as possible.
For example, the 240.
The country is not yours.
Okay.
So you must be transparent at all times. I mean, when I was running unique trials to UT, there was nothing I hid from the people. I would tell them that this is the way we're going because of A, B, C, D. Because if you have to get people aligned to the vision, aligned to the prospects and things like that, you must level with them. Otherwise, they feel disillusioned and they think you're going somewhere they don't understand, therefore you don't get their buy-in. And the country is not for anybody. So if you have a strategy, you must actually explain and be transparent. That's why we have the RTI and all those things, to make sure that people know exactly what is happening. So you can't say that I know what is best for you and therefore just keep quiet and I'll take you there. No, we want to know what you're taking us.
So in simple terms, and forgive me, my math and economics is so terrible, so maybe you break it down for me. An institution or a country is taking decisions, for example, the Gold Board, and yet they make some losses. You'd say that it is expected, it's not surprising, as long as in a bigger picture.
If you have an explanation, as in you can explain why the losses come and how you're going to treat the loss and how it's not going to affect our future, fair enough, but let people know.
Let's go to accountability. What's your cursory assessment of this current government in terms of accountability? Does it look genuine? I hear you say that politicians will do what they have to do. People do not love, they don't love the people of the country that much, but accountability as it is today, does it look good to you?
It's always been dodgy. I mean, as I said, when a political party comes to power, it's been a very expensive journey to come to power, right? And when you incur debt, you have to pay. So they owe money, they owe favors, and they must pay. Now, how do they pay? By award of contracts to other people and appointments and all those things. It is natural that they will do those things. The matter of how they go about it and how they feel about it. My only problem is that they tend to feel that they are not accountable to us and they will do whatever they want, but that is not right. And that is where I think the president should have some monitoring group to see who and who of the appointees are doing things that need to be sanctioned and hold them responsible and accountable.
There are a few live cases happening. The Office of the Special Prosecutor had been pursuing the former finance minister for a while. The Attorney General took over. In fact, currently in Ghana, the Signals Bureau boss still is under investigation by the Attorney General. We've got persons who have been accused of illegal mining. It's all illegal mining related cases. I hear you. One thing is living with me in this interview. If you're a leader, you must be bold. You must take decisions. Knowing this and knowing how the current government is pursuing the former finance minister, would you say that that is bold? Would you say that that is real accountability? Does it look like witch hunt to you?
I wish you had not asked me that question, because people think I should rejoice at the tribulations or what the finance minister is going through. Why? I don't.
Why would they think that?
Because the collapse of UT is a result of what the finance minister at the time, the role he played and things like that. But I don't wish anybody bad. And all I'm saying is that the systems must work. I am being prosecuted in court for criminal charges, the state versus. Now, my point is that if the state feels that I should be charged with certain things, yes, but they should go through it and let me have my life. But then nothing moves, and for 7-8 years I'm going to court and up and down. That's not the kind of justice system that we want. Now, if we want to talk about the finance minister, until the state can prove that yes, he did a few things here and there which cost the nation something, he's not guilty. And the only unfortunate thing is that either he cannot come or he's not coming. I mean, when I was, when UT Bank was collapsed and they told me that they were going to investigate it, I said, okay, bring it on. And I was advised by people that, hey, if you have to leave, I said, leave for what? I have nothing to fear about the system. And therefore I stayed. The only difference is that he decided to leave, or he wasn't well, therefore he left. And I'm not judging. If he had been here, probably would have been able to clear himself. But staying away then brings people to all sort of conclusions that, you are run away from justice and all those things. But I honestly, I don't have any opinion on it. He was like a brother to me, and he's still like a brother to me, and I don't bear him any grudge. I certainly don't hate him. I wish that God will help him and resolve the situation for him. I don't bear grudges, and I don't hate people either. It eats you up, so I've learned not to do that.
That's good to know. Prior to his leaving the country, were you speaking to him? When was the last time you
No, I wasn't.
Him? Oh.
I wasn't. I was speaking to him, and then the UT Bank collapsed and things like that, and I wanted his attention to tell me what it is, and I wasn't getting him, so I decided that he wasn't interested, and therefore I let it be.
Today, do you still have clarity on why the BOG didn't accept the offer to, I'm not sure what the offer was, but till today, would you say you know the exact reason why UT Bank collapsed?
Oh yeah. You see, basically, the bank was facing problems with non-performing loans, right? And therefore, we could not meet, or the bank could not meet some of the payments as and when they fell due. So Bank of Ghana had to give them liquidity support. At that time, I wasn't even in the bank, right? Now, when you give liquidity support, it means UT Bank owes Bank of Ghana. Now, Bank of Ghana can do one of two things. Bail the bank out put a restructuring program in place and say, okay, fine, you need maybe so much to solve your problems and be able to continue running the bank. Or, well, we are exposed so much and we don't think the bank is worth supporting, therefore we have to collapse the bank. And they did it. They took the second decision.
Okay.
Now, I don't want to discuss this in detail because if you take me out, I think without that the UT story was and still is a great Ghanaian story. And for me, it was there for young people to have hope and to learn and imitate and say that it can be done. Because the way we started UT, 4 of us from Cantonment to struggling, no curtains, one table and all those things, to what we're able to build and to go international and things. It's a great story. So, you know, when the banking crisis came, the governments of UK and the US said some banks cannot be closed. They are too big to be closed. Or the story is so good about them that you cannot just shut them down. And all those banks which were built out, they've paid back what the government put in it. So why we should just collapse our banks? And you know what? One thing that most people probably don't know is that, and the former governor actually said it openly, that the closure of UT Bank and Capital Bank was as a result of the demand by the IMF. The governor said it. I'm not saying it. So why would we sit for IMF to dictate how to collapse our institutions and our banks and things like that? Don't we have a mind of our own?
Well, unfortunately, if you're taking help from IMF, you can't help but play by the government.
But I mean, you can negotiate the covenants that you have to go into. You can tell them that this bank is not going away.
Okay.
And therefore, let's do something else. But you know, when we sit with these institutions and we are talking about that and negotiating about that, it's like we take hook, line, and sinker as if they are the headmasters and telling us what to do. It is our country.
Do we genuinely think that if you go into an IMF program or go for a support or the likes, you really can negotiate things?
Of course you are supposed to negotiate. It's your country. It's like somebody comes to you for even a loan. You can't tell them to go and bring their wife for the loan. I mean, you must give them something that they can afford. And in the first place, why do you go to IMF? Because you're being irresponsible and you have not managed your own affairs. So you are inviting trouble. And then you go to IMF and you don't have the confidence to say that this is how I want to go about it. Let's look at it. There's certain things I can't do. Because for us to sit and say that, okay, collapse these banks, and I know I have an idea why UT Bank probably wasn't liked too much by IFC and therefore World Bank and all those, but it's okay. But
have you documented this in your book? You have an idea?
I have a good idea, because when the Bank of Ghana governor, the former governor, said it openly that it was IMF who wanted UT Bank to be collapsed, then I said, okay.
Was it, paint a picture for me, is it that the government offered a few banks and then they chose, or these institutions went straight?
I think in the case of UT, it was collapse that bank. Because I had an issue with IFC, and I told them off. And I told them that they invested because they wanted to make money, and not because they knew what was best. Because we had built a company to a point where they could smell money. That's why they joined us. So they couldn't tell me or push us to do what they wanted us to do. And the thing too is that, you know, these IFCs and IMF, they don't love us. They want us to be where we are so they can exploit us. What does IMF tell governments? Freeze jobs, what do you call it, sell off assets, state assets and all those things, devalue your currency because then your goods become cheaper relative to theirs. That's always the prescription.
Is that not discipline?
That is not love. They don't love us.
If it's not love, it's a discipline then?
No, it's not discipline. It's like, so we'll give you a bitter pill to swallow.
Looking back, Would you have done things differently? Is there anything at all?
Well, with the bank?
With the bank, anything at all, but starting from the bank?
I did what I could, because, you know, when we started going into problems, we met with Bank of Ghana and put a restructuring plan in it. As in, this is what we can do to turn the bank around. After we'd done the restructuring plan with Bank of Ghana, I met my board and told them that the only thing that we've not restructured is me. But I've been CEO from inception. I think in account we say that if water even stays in the bottle for too long, they develop a scent and all that. So I had to insist my board and say, let me step aside and let's get a new pair of hands, a new set of eyes to see how they can turn the bank around, right? So I left because I love the bank and I wanted it to be turned around. Unfortunately, when I left and a new person came, things didn't work out, and therefore Bank of Ghana probably decided to collapse the bank. Now, so on my side, I did everything possible, including sacrificing my position as CEO and say, let me step aside. So if you ask me if I would have done something differently, I think I did everything that I had to do. The problem, and that's also part of the reason why I'm forming the Leadership Foundation, the problem is that the people that you put in leadership positions have different agendas. They don't even love the company you built. And they are thinking about their own selves. At one point in time, I had to sack my head of corporate banking and his deputy, brought another one, had to sack that one too. I mean, you don't get the people who have the kind of culture and the heart and the values.
Was it just the culture and values, or they did real untoward things?
No, some of them who came to UT after we acquired the bank and things like that were all thieves who were finding a place to go and steal some money. And you know, going for interview is not difficult. I mean, you rehearse it and you come and it's like everything is rosy and you sit down and say, oh yeah, this guy, he brought the values and he's coming to help me. You are in trouble. A lot of people, and Ghanaians, young people, do not want to work hard and build things. They want to make money now. I mean, like, at one point in time, I went to a nightclub Nicodemously, and I saw my staff, not even top staff, buying champagne with sparklers on it. And that time the champagne was 600 cedis. I would never have bought a champagne. I mean, I wouldn't. And my staff was buying.
What did they do to you?
No, I actually had to leave the place. I mean, that time, I said, Jesus Christ, suddenly the bank is in trouble. If bank staff can buy champagne 600, and probably I wasn't the only one that he bought. And I came and had to really think seriously about it. Because in Ghana, you see, when people are collapsing institutions and systems, we don't even complain. And it's our feature that they are collapsing. But Ghanaians won't complain. It's like, if you say it, then you're a bad person. All sort of funny. We have a mentality which is difficult. And that is what I'm trying to take out of the young leaders who are coming, to think about the nation or the institutions first.
While you do this, do you think that the Constitution has a role to play?
Of course, everything is governed by the Constitution. But I think the Constitution should look at the judiciary, and you see, the judiciary should allow people to be punished, and they should pay for it, and they should come quick. I mean, a lot of people go to court, and that's it.
What's that one thing, in very simple terms, you like to see? I mean, there's a constitution review. They've gone through the process already, but what would you have loved to see? And then we'll talk
Actually, I wanted to go to that constitution review committee.
Did you?
Yeah, but I felt, well, on one side, there are probably more educated and sophisticated people, but I also felt they can do a lot, but I would just have to home in on the judiciary, if nothing at all. That the judiciary is the last bastion, and if that doesn't give people trust in the system, then everything that we do will go to naught. And you know, the funny thing is that we have a system which is quite toxic. Once people do wrong things, they go for political connection, and therefore they cannot be touched. Or they go for pastoral connection. Some of the pastors are so powerful, they talk to the the powers that be, nothing happens. Or they go for some kind of traditional convention, as you go and see a powerful chief, and nothing happens. But the system has to be freed for people to be responsible and held accountable for it. But a lot of people, you can't hold them accountable because you try to touch them and they run to these powers that be, and nothing will happen.
The Attorney General has entered a few nollie prosequis for some people who are being investigated prior to their coming in. I hear you say that you're at peace, you're fine, but did you think that it should have been extended to you too?
No. I don't like nollie prosequis. I mean, I think the process should be shortened. And if, let's say, I was charged and within a year, maximum 2 years, the court will rule and say, this guy is free, we don't have any fault with him, comes from it, or we had a fault with him, and this is what he's supposed to pay. But I don't want to go and say, give me another prosecution, because the public also has a perception of whatever's happened. And I don't want the public to say that, oh, it's because his government came and therefore he chopped money, but they say that he can chop and go home. I don't like that. You know. So my point is that if the judiciary will be up and doing a shorter time. Because see, the thing I always say is that as human beings, as living things, all we have is time. We cannot use our institutions to waste people's time. When we waste people's time, it's their lives we are wasting. And it's as simple as that.
Did you know, okay, well, you mentioned that the banks, one of the challenges that you experienced with the judiciary was how if you had a little case, it will drag for years. But your personal case, did it deepen that even more?
Yeah, I realize that, I mean, if debt collection can take 8 years, then my 7 years in court is even nothing. You know, but it's painful. I mean, I have a life to lead. I have a life, and there's an aspect of it which even I don't talk about. And that aspect is that for the experiences that I have, because I'm in court, institutions that I could support and works that I could do, I've refrained from doing most of it. For example, I was on the board of some institutions before the charges came, and I had to resign. I said, listen, wait until I'm cleared. And these institutions lost the service I could have given to them. And then there are a lot of institutions that I know would have liked for me to be on the board. And I'll tell you, listen, my name will probably affect your brand because you brought somebody who is in court, so you keep it until I've cleared it. And I've been in court for 8 years. I mean, this is a waste of everybody's time.
When was the last time you went to court?
Well, it's a very good question. I can't even remember. I don't even have a court date. So I don't know when I'm next going to court. And the last time I went to court, maybe June at best. No, maybe earlier. Yeah.
Is this because your lawyers do more of the...
No, because the judge has been promoted to Supreme Court, and he was an appeal court judge sitting at High Court, so you can see that he moved up. And no other, I don't know if they can appoint a new judge, whether we're going to start the whole process again, or the old judge will be given some kind of warrant for him to come and finish the case. We filed a new case. It hasn't been heard. They haven't ruled on it. And I'm hanging. So I stay alive. I work out. I eat well. I sleep well. And I pray to God and I said, let me see the end of this. And I surely will see the end of it because I have a lot of life in me.
What will the end of that case mean to you?
Not really. It's part of my journey. And for example, I wouldn't even celebrate it. No, I don't think I would celebrate it. I just would say that, fine, this is how God kept me in check and for me to serve the purpose that I have to serve. You see, when you believe in God, things become easier.
Have you always believed in God like this?
Incidentally, yes. But I don't put it out there. I don't owe anybody to tell me that I believe in God or not. And therefore, sometimes I make a statement and people interpret it as they want. They say, oh, that guy doesn't even believe in God and this and that. I know at some point in time, they said I don't believe in God because I said something about tithing. Don't go there again. You know. But listen, I was raised by my grandmother. And at age 4, 5, I would go to church, Presbyterian church, and sing hymns and dance with my grandmother. And she gave me the fundamentals of the values that I have. And I was raised by parents who were really nice. My father was my best friend. And because of the values that were instilled in me, I don't fear any human being. I don't. But on the other side, I respect everybody.
If government wanted to give you a responsibility, I wouldn't want to use the word appoint. If government saw that, Kofi, we think you can do something, but you have the power to choose where, what would you do? What would you,
to choose
which
what?
area would you have been?
No, I'm not really out to get a position. I'm 70. I'll be 74 next month.
Congratulations.
Right?
Yeah, and, 22nd February.
Yeah. And that's not when you start looking for appointments.
No,
I resigned from the company that I built when I was 63.
I hear you, but if the government says that because of the wealth of experience,
I will not say no, but we'll have to discuss why me and what the government believes I can bring to the table. And I must have the time for it. I'm not going to do things that I'm going to do half-half. I don't do that. So your question is a bit, at this stage, maybe inappropriate for lack of a better word.
Okay.
But of course, anything that I think would be in line with serving the people and serving the world. Because we are in this world only to make the world a better place.
It'll be the same thing.
So any opportunity that comes that will mean that your world has been expanded and your impact is small, you should do it.
What's your impression of the office of the special prosecutor?
I don't know. I've never thought about it. I mean, how many cases has he resolved with all the things in the office? But of course, he has challenges because they have lawyers which will fight it, and because the judicial system we're talking about is difficult to move or whatever. And until the judiciary is overhauled completely with a real target and vision in mind, we'll have all these lapses and people getting away with everything.
There's one area that affects all of us in this country. I mean, everything affects us.
Yeah.
It would be illegal mining. It's kind of lived with us for years. For years, legal mining has lived with us.
Illegal mining?
Yeah, mining. Illegal mining has lived with us for years. The Kerry government came to power with a lot of promises during the campaign. I'd say that was one of their best foot forward. What's your assessment so far?
It's a canker that we have to really be able to strategize. It needs to be ended or not ended. It needs to be curtailed. And it needs for us to put structures in place so that we have, certainly we'll have mining, but not just Galamsey and everybody doing anything, even in homes or under people's buildings and things like that. But because of the neglect for the people, they had to find ways and means of surviving. And when I say neglect, if you take people in the say Huni Valley and those areas, they used to have rails and businesses and mining things which employ the kids. Now the rail system broke down, so it's as if, even though they vote, it's as if the state doesn't care about them, and they need to survive. Galamsey itself, if you ask me, can be stopped. But yes, it can be stopped. But you have to take an action with a feeling for the people. As in, you stop it, and how do they survive? When I say it can be stopped, let me tell you, with the advent of Jerry Rawlings, there was a curfew. The whole country, we were not even digging Galamsey. We all slept at 6 o'clock, and we slept. And it was raised to about 8 to 10, brought down to 6, and we slept. Because with the armed forces and the police and whatever that we have, we can stop it. But that is not to say that we have to stop it and just stop it. Because it's about the people. And therefore, their livelihoods matter. So what do we put in place? And we have to wean them off, or at least put measures in, but then take care of them. You have to be humane about it. That is why I think the government is also having problems. I'm sure behind the scenes they are trying to find ways and means of limiting the damage you're doing on the environment and so on and so forth. Because you cannot come and say there's curfew, that everybody sleep, or don't go out, or you'll be short if you go out. Because they are Ghanaians and they need to be taken care of. So it's a dilemma that we have, and I believe that the government will find solution, talking to experts and advising on what has to be done and putting the right laws and things like that.
When I talk to resource persons on my show, which is what we do on the AM show mostly, you hear one aspect saying that the government's policy, 24-hour economy, is not possible. Then you hear those who profess the policy say that it's an absolute possible policy. Again, I'll take it from you who's done a business, and because I mean at the time, though it's banking, people would close. The workers would lock and go, but the banking still continued all through. 24-hour economy that the NDC has said. I don't know if you've looked into it carefully, but what do you think?
I haven't looked into it carefully, to quote your own terms, but it makes sense. You know, when you know you are behind, you don't walk, you run, right? And this is very simple. The point is that we look at the country, we look at where we are, and we have our limited infrastructure and all sort of things. We need to get the best out of the few structures that we have. So at the moment, certain things that scare me. I used to drive myself from Accra to Kumasi in 2 hours. This is somewhere in the 80s or something like that. Now to go to Kumasi, if you are lucky, you'll be there in 7 hours. Right? Now, which shows where we're going, because the whole world is about time, it's about saving time. By the way, when we say a country is developed, what we are saying is that that country has found ways and means of saving time for its citizens, period.
Okay.
Now, so the 24-hour, what I see about it is that it's ways and means of trying to solve the time issues with the few or limited infrastructure that we have. So if we all start 6 a.m. to go to Kumasi, we'll have all of us going into a traffic jam with the open up of 24-hour. And it's happening sometime. People go at 1 a.m. and some go at 12, some go at 3 a.m. Then, of course, the load is shared over the period. So in that aspect, it makes a lot of sense to me. But I think the other thing the government is trying to do is try to build up this infrastructure and things like that. And so let's wait and see how it goes. But I think it's a good decision to try and make the best out of the whole 24 hours, because we cannot all go to sleep and let the country sleep when things are not happening for us.
So January 31, the NPP would go to the flag bearership race or primaries. What are your predictions? Do you know who and who? Yeah.
I know it's between, or the four bearers are Kennedy Japan and Bawumia, but I don't care. I simply don't care what happens there.
Why don't you care? If the effect of it is that whoever becomes the flag bearer can become president, can. And it matters, for example, these people that you're training, it matters how you're hoping that this country becomes better.
That's why I say I don't care, is that, I mean, it's about their delegates and things to choose, and I don't have anything to influence anything. Whatever they choose to lead the NPP, that's fine. And then they have to come with their manifesto to challenge the NDC and things like that. And I'm not really somebody who delves deep into politics.
Okay.
That's why I'm saying I don't care. I mean, I know Baumia personally is a nice guy. I have conversations with him. Kenneth Japan is my old schoolmate, Santa Clausian, and I don't want to take sides. I mean, they should do their best. May the better person win, and then may they have a manifesto to challenge the NDC.
Okay. Your birthday is coming up next month. You throwing a party, doing something?
We're playing golf and having fun.
Do you play golf all the time?
Yeah. In Kukurantumi, Tafu Golf Course, Koko Research Institute Golf Course, which is my mother golf course as well. I play there and mostly at Shimota.
Okay.
And so to get some life into Tafu, we play the tournament in Tafu.
For your birthday?
For my birthday. Every year we play a tournament for my birthday.
Okay.
So we play the 74 PK at 74 golf in Tafu.
Okay, but you've left the Accra people out.
No, they will come.
They will come?
Yeah. A lot of them, my friends, will travel to Tafu when we have a good time. Yeah, it's different, it's special.
Where do you enjoy? Staying in Accra or back in?
Both, really.
Okay.
I tend to be here most weekdays, and then weekends I go to the village and I'm out of the heat and relax completely.
We're wrapping the conversation, but I'm curious, what's your typical day like when you wake up in the morning?
Okay.
Golf is a constant, I think.
Yeah. I wake up in the morning. I will take a bottle of water and a cocoa drink, and I watch the news, not Ghana news, incidentally. I always watch BBC.
Why not?
That is why when my bank was shut down, I was the last person to know. But it was done before 6 a.m. and I got to know after 8 a.m.
I would have thought the conversations that you were having prior to that.
No, there was no conversation. There was no conversation. So I wasn't a CEO at the time, so you can understand. Then some days, maybe once a week or twice a week, I'll go to the gym. And then depending on the day, I may play golf. I may catch up on activities for the cohorts and PK Amoabeng Leadership Foundation, and probably have a nap in the afternoon, and friends will come around depending on the day. We have 2 friends, I may have 10 friends, and they come around and we sit around and have some drink and have dinner and think about ourselves in Ghana.
But I'm pained that you don't watch the Ghana news. I recommend Joy News.
I used to be a fan of Joy for the longest, but I think it started way back when the airways were open too wide. I mean, now you don't know which one to listen to.
I'm recommended.
Yeah, no. Joy has been my favorite for the longest, but nowadays I don't, because with the closure of the bank especially, I didn't want to hear nonsense.
It's past, is it not?
No. You see, now everybody has a voice. And sometimes when I hear people talking about me, I know they've never met me before. But they have a voice, and they say all sorts of things as they like. And I don't want to hear it and get mad or get disturbed about it. So, on phone news.
That would challenge my perception that I was just forming about you, that you don't care about a lot of things.
Yeah, so don't listen. Don't worry about it.
News and not care about what they say about you.
Yeah, you hear some, but the less you hear, the better. So you don't hear everything.
Do you accept handshakes?
Say that again?
Do you accept handshakes?
I love handshakes.
Thank you so much.
I even would love a hug.
Oh, absolutely, please.
Oh,
thank you so much for talking to us. Have yourself a happy New Year.
Thank you so much. I wish you all the best.
In advance.
Thank you.